Chapter 432. Go and rest. The strength of today's beast tide is not a threat to you, especially little Hao and little Shui. You too. Venerable Han Mei looked at Chen Hao and Chen Shui with a gentle gaze. You too go and rest as well. Perform well tomorrow. Especially you, little Wu. You have to comprehend the use of the power of reincarnation. Venerable Yunwei said with a smile. Yes. How could Chen Hao not dodge when the immortals were bickering? Especially from the looks of it, it seems like it was because of him. His face is really big. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi and the other two were also quite embarrassed. They haven't even started fighting. Why did the elders start? This is really the case of the emperor not being anxious, but the eunuchs are. After arriving at the palace, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian naturally followed Chen Hao and the others. Huyen Aobua and the others consciously avoided them and entered their own rooms. Under Chen Hao's signal, the two beautiful sisters also took their leave. Only Chen Hao, Chen Shui, and the three girls stayed in the hall of the palace. However, Huyen Aobua and the others all pricked up their ears. Unfortunately, Chen Hao directly laid down a barrier, so everyone could only obediently enter the cultivation room to recuperate and heal their injuries. After not seeing each other for more than 2 years, Chen Hao naturally couldn't help but ask about each other's experiences. The three girls' experiences were the same as Chen Shui's. When it was the three girls' turn to ask about Chen Hao's experience, Chen Hao scratched his head and looked at Chen Shui. Little Shui, why don't you tell me about it? Why do you want me to tell you? If you dare to do it, then you must dare to admit it. Tell me yourself. Cough cough. You see, I'm still a one-armed hero. It's settled then. Anyway, you already know about my experience. I'll go and recover first. Oh right, let's get to know each other formally. Hiss. After Chen Hao finished speaking, he didn't allow Chen Shui to refuse and directly entered her room. It must be Ling Ning Huan and Ling Ning Lo. You can tell just by looking at him. Helian Wuzi, who was as cold as the moon, rolled her eyes at Chen Hao's room and said, You can't blame him. You left early. I was with him for a period of time. A year ago, I was brought to the limitless immortal palace by my mother. It was the day before yesterday that I met up with him in Songyuan City. Chen Shui said helplessly. Then he talked about Chen Hao's experience during this period. He highlighted the main point and told them about how the beautiful sisters had saved Chen Hao's life, which made the three girls feel a little better. After entering the cultivation room, Chen Hao's powerful soul perception locked onto the four women's conversation. Since he was the one who had set up the barrier, it naturally wouldn't affect him. Seeing that Chen Shui had settled everything for him, he let out a long sigh of relief. He took out the pill that Venerable Han Mei gave him and swallowed it. Hiss, hiss, hiss. As soon as the pill entered his stomach, it immediately surged with heat. In an instant, Chen Hao felt that his blood was circulating crazily. At the moment when his right arm was cut off, all the blood in his body surged towards his right arm as if it had found a vent. But miraculously, a powerful medicinal power blocked the blood and didn't leak out from the wound. Instead, it accelerated the growth of his flesh and blood by several times. He, who possessed the immortal bloodline, was already recovering slowly. At this moment, with the effect of the medicinal power, he didn't need to do much and began to recover at an astonishing speed. According to Venerable Han Mei, it would take 4 hours for a severed finger to regrow. But after only half an hour, Chen Hao's right arm had completely grown out. It was no different from before, and the strength of his flesh and blood didn't weaken at all. Phew! The harvest this time is huge. It seems like I'm about to break through. Old God, let me cultivate first, then we'll merge. Alright. 4 hours later, Chen Hao's cultivation room had a wave of dense energy in advance. He, who was in the late primordial soul stage, had finally succeeded in advancing to the peak of the late primordial soul stage. But this wave of dense energy did not end. Pieces of top-grade primordial crystal stones were consumed at an astonishing rate of 2 per 10 minutes. After another 8 hours, the dense energy that enveloped Chen Hao finally dissipated. Phew! Chen Hao let out a long breath and opened his eyes. Crackle, crackle, crackle. With a light shake, countless crisp, explosive sounds rang out around his body. A power that would make an early-stage creation stage expert tremble in fear suddenly emanated from Chen Hao's body. Half-step to creation stage is actually so strong. The increase in strength from the late primordial soul stage to the peak of the late primordial soul stage is very limited. But at half-step to creation stage, it can be considered an increase in the realm. My body is at least 30% stronger, and my inner yuan has increased by more than 40%. Moreover, I can feel that I haven't completely digested the gains from this life-or-death situation. Not only Chen Hao, but even Huyan Aobo and the others were in a state of extreme surprise and joy at this moment. Chen Hao thought to himself, if I advance to the blessed realm, my will of the sword Tao and the various laws of heaven and earth that I've comprehended will increase by a realm. With my physical body and soul, it won't be a problem for me to trigger the heavenly punishment, but it's still better for me to stabilize my realm. This beast horde will last for at least a month. The first 10 days should be the best time for me to train. This beast tide could be at level 11. The higher the level of the beast tide, the longer it would last. Moreover, the monsters near the supply station would continue to grow stronger as time passed. This was undoubtedly the best opportunity for training. Old God, let's begin. Yes. Rumble, as the old god spoke, Chen Hao's mind directly exploded. F***ck in that instant, Chen Hao directly cursed. He had not expected the fusion this time to be so violent. The old god did not give him any hints and directly threw a bomb into Chen Hao's soul palace, causing Chen Hao's soul to almost leave his body. Guard your mind. This fusion will be more painful than any before. This is just the appetizer. Appetizer? Damn it, bring it on. Chi. 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 In the next moment, rays of 7-colored light rose from Chen Hao's body, but Chen Hao's entire body trembled violently. His brows were deeply furrowed, his teeth were tightly clenched, and cold sweat broke out. This was not physical pain, but pure pain that came from the depths of his soul. Chen Hao felt as if his soul was being bitten by thousands of ants as the old god's aura crazily drilled into it. This kind of pain was far beyond Chen Hao's imagination. It was 100 times, 1,000 times more terrifying than the first soul awakening or any of the heavenly punishments. Even with Chen Hao's tenacious nerves, he wished he could die, but his mind was still clear, and as time passed, his senses became sharper and clearer, directly causing this kind of pain to become more and more intense. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. Chen Hao completely forgot the concept of time, feeling as if millions of years had passed. Finally, just as Chen Hao was about to collapse, the pain suddenly disappeared completely. Phew! The fusion is a success. I didn't expect your endurance to be so strong. You didn't even faint, hee. This fusion is perfect, more perfect than any of my previous masters. The old god's words reverberated in Chen Hao's mind, obviously with a trace of surprise and admiration. Chen Hao's entire body trembled like a sieve for a full 2 minutes before he calmed down and said, "Old god, will the fusion in the future be so painful?" "How can that be? It's only this step that's so painful." It's okay. In the future, every time I fuse, the pain will increase by about 10 times. Damn. Hee. You can temper the 5-element sword first. When you see the effect, you will feel that everything is worth it. Clang. An hour later, a clear and melodious sword cry abruptly sounded out, and Chen Hao opened his eyes with a pleasantly surprised expression. The 5-elements sword exuded a cold aura. Whether it was the shape or the quality, it had improved countless times. This is the upper-grade spirit treasure. Chapter 433. How is this possible? Fan Suixin had just finished speaking when his expression suddenly changed, revealing a look of extreme surprise. When he saw Chen Hao and the others appear from afar, he did not think much of it. However, at this moment, he suddenly realized that apart from Helian Wuzi, Xia Yu, Tantai Lian, as well as Chen Shui, Jiang Hai, and Huang Wenxiu, who were already at the half-step to the manifestation realm, Chen Hao and the others had all broken through. Especially Chen Hao, who was only at the late primordial soul realm when he returned the day before. Now, he had advanced to the half-step to the manifestation realm, directly advancing by 2 small realms. How was this possible? It was only a day. It was normal for them to advance by 1 small realm, but to advance by 2 small realms in a row was a little too exaggerated. Furthermore, Chen Hao and the others had all advanced. If he had not seen this with his own eyes, Fan Suixin would never have believed this to be true. However, the truth was right in front of him. Wait! Fan Suixin was stunned for a moment before he suddenly transmitted his voice again. That Chen Hao has advanced to the half-step to the manifestation realm in just 1 day. The others have also advanced to the late primordial soul realm and the peak late primordial soul realm. Chen Fei Buyuanshan, Chen Guangyuan. The 5 of you will be divided into 5 groups, just in case. What you have to do is to kill them in 1 blow and not give them any chance to call for help. There must be no mistakes. Yes. The disciples of the Limitless Demon Palace's Heartbroken Hall responded in a low voice, but there was a trace of shock in their expressions. In particular, Soul Fighter, who was in the first group, was even more shocked. He had experienced Chen Hao's ability to challenge those of a higher level. When he was at the late primordial soul realm, he was able to fight evenly with him. How terrifying would the half-step to the manifestation realm be? Fortunately, Fan Suixin had arranged for a nameless peak late manifestation realm expert, which made him feel much more at ease. Little brother Chen Hao, just as Chen Hao led the group up the city wall and waited for the next opening of the seal, a gentle voice suddenly sounded in Chen Hao's mind. Is it Senior Meng Yichong? Did you guys have a conflict with the disciples of Limitless Devil Palace? Meng Yichong said, yesterday, when Fan Suixin, the palace master of the Broken Heart Hall of the Limitless Demon Palace, arrived, I overheard him talking with his disciple, Mo Wuxin. According to Mo Wuxin, your Ao Tian Immortal Palace ambushed them and killed 17 genius disciples. Due to my status, it's inconvenient for me to say too much to the 2 immortal venerables of the Limitless Immortal Palace. If you want to go out and fight against the beast tide, you must be careful. It's best not to leave the sight of the 2 immortal venerables. Are they going to make a move? Chen Hao stared at the densely packed monsters outside the city wall and calmly transmitted his voice. That should be the case. They are all in the blessed realm, and there are also those in the late stage of the blessed realm. Cough cough, there are also those at the peak of the late stage. If my guess is correct, they will lure you in. They can't directly attack near the city wall, but it's hard to say if they are far away. Remember. Alright, thank you for your reminder, Senior Meng. I'm really sorry, I was injured yesterday and didn't have time to thank Senior for your help. You're welcome. A genius like you is the hope of the boundless world. This is what I should do. Meng Yichong, who was standing far away, smiled when he heard Chen Hao's words. Obviously, he was very satisfied with Chen Hao's courteous words. By doing so, he had already violated the Alliance's agreement not to participate in any power struggle. Originally, he had no intention of violating it. Otherwise, why didn't he tell Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei yesterday? But now, he had told Chen Hao. The reason was very simple. In just 1 day, Chen Hao had advanced from the late stage of the primordial soul realm to the half-step to the blessed realm. This was absolutely incredible. In addition, Chen Hao had displayed a terrifying talent in the battle yesterday, which prompted him to make an exception for once, because he thought it was worth it. After communicating with Mengichong, Chun Hao took a deep breath and stared at the monster tied outside the city wall. His eyes slowly narrowed, and two sharp and cold rays of light flashed in them. Soul Fighter, very good. Not only did you almost cause all of us to die, but you also inverted right and wrong. I want to see what tricks you can play. Right now, my combat power has definitely increased by more than 5 times compared to yesterday. As long as they are not monstrous geniuses in the middle or late stage of the blessed realm, I am not afraid. Even if they are at the peak of the late stage of the blessed realm, I still have the power to fight. And in this monster tide, the corners of Chun Hao's mouth curled into a faint evil smile. Cough cough. Boss, what's wrong with you? At that moment, Huyen Aobua, who still had some special feelings for Chun Hao, coincidentally saw the evil smile on Chun Hao's lips and could not help but ask. After a year of interacting with each other, he and his brothers and sisters had a rather thorough understanding of Chun Hao's temperament, at least on the surface. What did this signature evil smile mean? It meant that someone was going to suffer. It's nothing. These bastards almost killed us. As your boss, I can't wait to rush in and kill them all. Chun Hao stared at the monsters outside and said with a murderous look. Oh. I thought it was something else. Huyen Aobua said with a smile. Don't make a sound. When we go out later, all of you will stay near the city wall and form a battle formation. Little Shui, Little Wu, Yu Yu, Little Lian, Jiang Hai, Wen Su, all of you will cooperate with their battle formation. Although the monsters are a little weak now, they can train our tenacity and will. Others take 2 hours, but I want all of you to last a day. Also, if I don't come back before dark, don't wait for me. Go back and recover first. Ah! What are you going to do? Chun Shui remained motionless, but she frowned and asked directly through voice transmission. Nothing much, just play with the trash from Limitless Demon Palace. Don't worry, with my current strength, no one can do anything to me unless they're at the deity stage. Back then, when I was at the early stage of the primordial soul stage, I lasted 3 days and 3 nights in the monster tide. If there's really danger, I'll contact all of you and ask your mother or Master Yunwei to help. Don't worry. Everyone wanted to go with Chun Hao, but they were all rejected by Chun Hao in a domineering manner, so they could only give up. Even Chun Shui knew that she couldn't help in the face of an expert at the middle stage, late stage, or even the peak of the late stage. This made Chun Shui and the others feel very helpless. They had been working hard and cultivating crazily, but in front of a monster like Chun Hao, they couldn't get close to him, let alone surpass him. Chun Hao didn't know that his decision this time had a great impact on Chun Shui, who was eager to be strong and sincerely loyal to him. It also made Chun Shui make a ruthless decision. Let's go. Hiss, 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 hiss. Less than an hour later, the Guardian restriction was activated. Countless Guardian groups and Guardians immediately turned into streams of light and rushed out of the Guardian restriction, merging into the dense beast tide. Chun Hao and the other 19 people also made their appearance. Compared to the day before, there were several times more cultivators who came to supply point 160 today, and there were countless experts. Nothing much happened when they were on the city walls, but the moment Chun Hao and the others made their appearance, they attracted the gazes of countless cultivators. Most people were attracted by the beauties, but there were a small number of cultivators who had seen Chun Hao and the others the day before, and they sucked in sharp breaths of air in shock. Buzzing discussions erupted sporadically from the people who knew Chun Hao and the others. Then, like a whirlwind, they swept through the front of the city walls in that direction. The words group leveled up and leveled up by 2 stages in a row became the most frequent words. Chun Hao and the others also became the focus of most people on the city walls. No one noticed that 5 squads made up of people at the beginning stage, middle stage, and later stage of Blessed Realm, as well as one at the peak of the later stage, had also fused into the monster tide tens of thousands of feet away from the spot where Chun Hao had entered the monster tide. In just a few minutes, the 5 squads formed a semicircle with their great strength. None of the people in the 5 squads wore the symbol of the faction they belonged to, and they had also deliberately changed their appearances. With just one glance, anyone could tell that they were trying to hide their true identities. However, this sort of situation was very normal in the cultivation world, and no one found it strange. Besides, the 5 squads acted as if they did not know each other. Due to their great strength, they jumped around and picked up the high-grade monsters around them to kill. This sort of situation was equivalent to blocking all the powerful monsters around Chun Hao and the others. Because of it, once Chun Hao and the others killed a wave of monsters close to them, they no longer had any Blessed Realm monsters to kill. Damn it, there's no challenge at all. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to go deeper and have some fun. What about you? More than 10 minutes later, Chun Hao's punches and kicks reduced the monsters around him to ashes. His expression seemed to become more and more gloomy, as if he was using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. He looked very unhappy. His voice was not very loud, but it was definitely loud enough for everyone to hear. Ahem. Boss, didn't we say that we were going to train our tenacity, willpower, and teamwork in battle formations? That's our biggest weakness. F***CK then continue. I can't hold it in anymore. There's no challenge at all. I'm going to have some fun. Shik. Chun Hao cast a disdainful glance at the crowd before he ran away from the city in a frenzy. What great combat power! He's really awesome. Of course. Yesterday, when he was at the later stage of the Essence Soul Realm, he displayed strength that was no weaker than an elite at the early stage of Blessed Realm. He might even have been at the middle stage, and he was injured yesterday. He even lost an arm. Which faction's genius disciple is he from? He should be from the Wuji Celestial Palace. Chun Hao was like a hot knife cutting through butter. He blasted the monsters into pieces with his violent and fierce punches and kicks as if he was venting his anger. When he ran toward the depths of the beast tide, the cultivators on the city wall, who had been watching them, suddenly started to talk about it. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei, who were sitting in a pavilion on the city wall, smiled when they saw Chun Hao's arrogance. Young men are full of vigor and vigor. This is how it should be. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 434. Keeping a low profile and forbearance were symbols of cowardice in the world of cultivation, especially to young geniuses. This was because it would destroy one's spirit and cause one to lose one's state of mind. Moreover, it involved the most elusive thing in the world, fate. The greater a person's fame and reputation, the greater the amount of luck and opportunities that a person could gather. This was also the real reason why most disciples were arrogant and condescending. Of course, this was also the most basic expression of human nature. It was just that most people could not really control the degree of it. Junior brother Wuxin, what should we do? When they saw Chun Hao charging into the depths alone, the 5 people with the highest cultivation in the 5 teams all sent telepathic messages to Wuxin. Their goal was to lure Chun Hao and the others into the depth. Once they were out of sight, they would kill them all at lightning speed. However, they did not expect that only Chun Hao would enter the depths alone. Furthermore, from their conversation, it seemed that those people had no intention of entering the depths because they wanted to train their coordination, tenacity, and willpower. One is good. The real culprit is this fellow. Moreover, he is the only one who can threaten me. If we can kill him, the others will not be a threat. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Wuxin said coldly. Let's go. Try to hide as much as possible. Don't let him see through our intentions. Okay. Although Wuxin's cultivation was the lowest among them, None of them dared to look down on him. After all, Wuxin's talent and potential were not something they could compare to. In Fan Suixin's words, Wuxin was a once-in-a-century genius in Broken Heart Hall. If there were no accidents, his future achievements would definitely surpass Fan Suixin, the Hall Master. Therefore, even though this group of people had a higher cultivation level than Soul Fighter, they were still very respectful and obeyed everything he said. 5 at the peak of the advanced stage of the creation realm, 5 at the advanced stage of the creation realm, 10 at the intermediate stage of the creation realm, and 5 at the initial stage of the creation realm, a total of 30 people. How can he resist such a powerful lineup? Not far from the city wall, Chen Shui, who was fighting with the others, used her powerful soul perception to follow Chen Hao's figure deeper and deeper into the city. She could clearly sense the 5 teams surrounding Chen Hao. Her beautiful face flashed with deep worry. Even though she knew that Chen Hao's combat strength was terrifying, Chen Hao had just advanced to half-step to manifestation. With such a huge difference in cultivation realm and numbers, how could she not be worried? If it wasn't for Chen Hao telling them not to tell Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yunwei, Chen Shui would have told her mother. This was too risky. After hesitating for a long time, Chen Shui finally chose to believe in Chen Hao. He didn't succeed in that adventure? That time, it wasn't as if she had turned something she thought was impossible into a possibility or a miracle. Perhaps this was the reason why she would never be able to catch up with him. Chen Shui sighed softly in her heart. Her eyes became firm as she retracted her soul perception and immersed herself in honing her combat skills. 5 at the peak of the advanced stage of the creation realm, 5 at the advanced stage of the creation realm, 10 at the intermediate stage of the creation realm, and 5 at the initial stage of the creation realm. They really think highly of me. Just as Chen Shui was hesitating, Chen Hao's eyes flashed with a hint of arrogance as he thought to himself. Fortunately, these people's talents can't be compared to Wuxin's. Otherwise, there's really no way to deal with them. His powerful soul perception sensed the aura of Wuxin and the others and the power they displayed as he estimated in his heart. Chen Hao knew that although he couldn't see their true combat strength, he could at least make a rough estimate, and that was enough. Although he was very confident, he wasn't so stupid as to fight with 30 people. If that wasn't courting death, then what was? Only an idiot would do that. Wuxin and the others were thousands of feet away from Chen Hao. Under the cover of the chaotic aura of the monster horde, they believed that Chen Hao wouldn't be able to see through their scheme. And that seemed to be the case. It had to be said that although Wuxin's talent and combat strength were powerful, his intelligence was really nothing much, to be more precise. He was a little brainless. If it was Chen Hao, how could he not think about how they had been discovered when they had followed Chen Hao and the others? And how had they been suddenly counterattacked? And how had they lost their puppet substitutes because of a sneak attack? Not fun at all. Damn it, I've advanced to the half-step to creation realm. Looks like my strength is boundless, ha ha ha. Boom, boom, boom. Chen Hao's confidence swelled as he laughed loudly, accompanied by the sound of terrifying energy wreaking havoc. His voice was as arrogant as it could be, as arrogant as it could be. It's really strange. We've already gone 100 miles in, but there aren't even any decent monster commanders. How can those at the initial stage of the creation realm be enough? I'll continue to go deeper. Hee, that bullshit genius from Limitless Demon Palace, Wuxin, almost killed me. If I meet him again, I'll make him cry for his father and mother. I'll beat him until his ancestors can't recognize him. Yes, it's best to castrate this bastard first, then make him eat sh*t and drink piss. Then find a few strong half-human half-beast men and make him feel like he's in heaven until he dies. Ha ha ha. Chen Hao was like a madman. As he crazily hunted monsters, he quickly went deeper and deeper. At the same time, his expression was ruthless and arrogant as he hooted as if there was no one around. The people from Limitless Demon Palace, who had formed a semicircle and maintained a certain distance from Chen Hao, had extremely strange expressions on their faces. This was especially so for the 5 people who were with Wuxin. They were too embarrassed to even look at Wuxin. What kind of person was this? Not only was he fighting alone to gain experience, he was also venting his anger like a lunatic. Not only was he venting his anger, he was even targeting Wuxin. Who was Wuxin? He was a super genius that only appeared once in 100 years in Broken Heart Palace. He was an existence that they had to curry favor with. When had anyone dared to curse and insult him behind his back? They could imagine how much Chen Hao's words would drive Wuxin crazy. This brat is really a tragedy. Junior brother Wuxin is probably going crazy from anger. Later, we have to be more careful when we attack. It's best if we injure him severely and capture him alive. Then, we can let junior brother Wuxin vent his anger. Yes, we should. I think that brat's appearance is definitely handsome and elegant. If junior brother Wuxin wants you to act as a strong half-human half-beast man, you should comply. Get lost. I don't like that. Haha. I can already see this brat's miserable appearance. But, to be honest, this brat's innate talent and battle strength are really terrifying. Damn it, he advanced 2 small realms in one day, but he's still only half-stepped to the manifestation realm. Look at his current battle strength. Even someone in the middle stage of the manifestation realm is not his match. It's also very difficult for someone in the late stage of the manifestation realm to kill him. Junior brother Wuxin suffered a loss at his hands. Moreover, it's under the condition that his cultivation level is higher than his. You can imagine how terrifying this brat will be when he grows up. Yes, if that's not the case, do you think the palace master only wanted to vent his anger on junior brother Wuxin and the 17 dead junior brothers and sisters? Such a monstrous genius would be considered an outstanding existence even in the entire limitless Devil Palace. He's definitely more powerful than junior brother Wuxin. Yes. If we can kill such a monstrous genius, we can also earn a lot of fate. Of course. If junior brother Wuxin eats meat, it's enough for us to drink some soup. The 2 leaders of the 2 groups, who were at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm, had a good relationship with each other. They communicated through telepathy. Wuxin gritted his teeth and his face turned green. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still far away from the city wall and could not escape the control of the 2 palace masters of the limitless immortal palace, he would have immediately exploded. At this moment, he could only endure the anger of tearing Chen Hao into pieces. There was no other way. If Chen Hao asked for help at this moment, with the strength of Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei, they would definitely be able to get the supply station's president to open the seal immediately. They would also be able to launch an extremely powerful attack without moving and save Chen Hao. The terror of the Earth Immortal Realm was definitely not something they could compare with. Just like when Fan Suixin saved him yesterday, he was directly sucked into the city from 100 miles away. What kind of power was that? It's been almost an hour. Huyan Aobua and the others, who were fighting, could not fully engage in the battle. Even Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian could not do the same. This was because they were all worried about Chen Hao's situation. Their soul perception was far inferior to Chen Hao's. They had already lost track of Chen Hao's aura and could not sense what kind of lineup the Limitless Demon Palace had sent. How could they not be worried? Or rather, how could they not be curious? After all, most of them had blindly chosen to believe in Chen Hao. Open! Finally, everyone could not help but open their psychic mirror and communication devices. Everyone present had already joined Aotion's Guardian group. Moreover, when Chen Hao refused to let them join him, he had also agreed to the condition that they were allowed to watch. This way they would feel more at ease. Therefore, when everyone sent out the message to open their psychic mirror and communication devices, Chun Hao also picked them up one after another. He separated a strand of his consciousness into the psychic mirror and communication devices. Everyone was watching Chun Hao's every move as they fought. When Chun Hao was like a madman, arrogantly scolding from time to time, Huyen Aobo and the other men, as well as Bai Xiaomei, who was even more manly than men, all showed expressions of admiration and worship. Jiang Hai and Huang Wenxiu, who did not know Chun Hao very well, were a little confused and excited. They could not figure out what kind of image Chun Hao had in their hearts. As for the sisters, Tan Hui and Meng Xiao, all three of them had funny expressions on their faces. However, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu and Tan Tailian, who had not seen Chun Hao for more than 2 years, were a little dumbfounded, dazed and embarrassed. Especially when Chun Hao said that he wanted the half-human half-beast strong man and whatnot. Boring, split for me. Chi. Chun Hao's body suddenly flashed, and in an instant there were 5 of him. 4 doppelgangers and 1 original body. This is my limit. Come, let's compete with ourselves and see who can kill more. Ha ha. The 5 Chun Hao laughed at the same time. The strength of each of their auras was exactly the same. The only difference was the attributes of the 5 elements. The 5 figures were of metal, wood, water, fire and earth respectively. It was impossible to tell which was the original body and which was the doppelganger. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 435. Chi. Following Chun Hao's crazy words, the 5 figures suddenly spread out and rushed towards the depths. This, Chun Hao's sudden action caused the people on both sides to express different opinions. Soul Fighter and the rest were shocked and had a headache. Huyen Aobo and the rest were only shocked. They did not know that Chun Hao could condense 4 doppelgangers. Seeing everyone's shocked expression, Chen Shui, who had activated the psychic mirror and communication device, frowned slightly. Only Chen Shui knew that Chun Hao used the 5 elements sword as the foundation to refine 5 doppelgangers. Including his original body, there should be 6. But now there were only 5. What did this mean? It meant that Chun Hao's original body had already hidden. In fact, it was only for a moment. Huyen Aobo and the rest had already seen the clues. Because the scene in the psychic mirror changed to 5 different directions and Chun Hao was rushing forward. They only saw the back view. The core of the psychic mirror, which should have been the main image of Chun Hao, was empty. There's no room for negotiation. Boss is definitely going to take them down one by one. That's too awesome. He actually has 5 clones. Moreover, the opponent definitely won't be able to distinguish the aura of these 5 clones. Otherwise, Boss wouldn't have done this, that's for sure. Sigh, we thought that Boss had no more secrets in front of us. Who would have thought that Boss was still hiding his unique skills? Damn it, I don't want to fight anymore. Why don't we go to the city wall and watch the show? I don't want to be beaten up. Boss told us to hold on for a day. See if I don't play you guys to death. Chun Hao, who had blended into the world, was like a fish shuttling between the monsters. He was full of ridicule as he sensed that the 5 teams had to be stretched to the sides as his 5 doppelgangers advanced in 5 different directions. At this moment, they were already more than 300 miles away from the city. Besides him, Soul Fighter and the others, they couldn't see any other cultivators. Moreover, the monsters could not sense his presence, so even though the monsters were densely packed, they were either chasing after his clone or approaching the supply station. Therefore, Chun Hao's state of being one with everything in the world was not very difficult. At most, it was a little more dangerous. This kid's doppelganger is so realistic. Which one is the real one? The one in the middle is most likely to be true. After all, once the doppelganger is too far away from the main body, it will lose control of his mind. He's not stupid, so he definitely won't use both sides. See, it won't be long before he'll be exposed. As Chun Hao transformed into 5 figures and dispersed into the depths of the beast tide, Soul Fighter and the others were having a discussion. Although they knew that the possibility of the middle was the highest, they couldn't completely rule out the possibility that Chun Hao was an idiot. Therefore, since they were already deeper in than Chun Hao, they could only follow Chun Hao's 5 doppelgangers and move further away. In their opinion, it wouldn't be long before Chun Hao's doppelgangers couldn't continue. After all, the distance between the doppelgangers and the main body couldn't be too far apart, especially in the midst of the beast tide. How can this be? After another quarter of an hour, Soul Fighter and the others became more and more puzzled and surprised. They were now more than 500 miles away from the supply station, which was close to the point where they could attack. However, Chun Hao's 5 doppelgangers were still spreading out, and the distance between them was increasing. Furthermore, the aura of each doppelganger didn't weaken in the slightest. Not only that, they were displaying amazing combat power in the midst of the beast tide. How could this be? Even if the main body is in the middle, at this moment the doppelgangers are almost 200 miles away. How can he control them so well? Especially, these are 4 doppelgangers. 4 doppelgangers and the main body. Under such circumstances, one would have to multitask. Not many people could do this, not to mention that each of the doppelgangers was displaying great combat power. Not to mention, the distance between the doppelgangers was now 400 miles. In the eyes of Soul Fighter and the others, this was absolutely impossible. Don't worry, from now on, let's not kill any high-level monsters. I don't believe that he can still control them. Everyone, keep a good distance. The moment he retrieves his doppelgangers, it will be the time for us to surround and kill him. All right, they must have psychic mirrors and communication devices. If I attack any team, I will definitely be discovered by the other teams. I need to keep a distance. Chun Hao silently moved through the monster horde that did not notice him and waited for the best time to attack. It had to be said that the presence of psychic mirrors and communication devices limited his ability to attack. Otherwise, the distance at this moment would have been sufficient. But now, he had to continue distancing himself. Fortunately, Chun Hao's 5 doppelgangers had the 5 elements sword as the body and the 5 divine beasts as the soul. The 5 divine beasts had been upgraded following the fusion with Chun Hao and Chun Hao's advancement. At this moment, the fusion between Chun Hao and Old God had advanced further, causing the 5 elements sword to be upgraded to a middle-grade spirit treasure. Moreover, it was in existence more magical and powerful than a superior-grade spirit treasure in this world. This also caused the 5 divine beasts to be upgraded directly. In fact, unlike ordinary doppelgangers, Chun Hao's 5 doppelgangers did not require Chun Hao to expend any energy at all. He only needed to maintain a trace of his mind. At this moment, the ones who were truly controlling the 5 elements sword were the 5 divine beasts. Which one of them was not an old monster with rich combat experience? Not to mention 400 miles, even if they were thousands of miles apart, there would be no problem. Another 15 minutes later, Chun Hao was already 50 miles away from the leftmost team. A monster in the initial stage of Blessed Realm suddenly let out a terrifying roar and a pained cry. Without any warning, it attacked the low-grade monsters around it violently. This lasted for a full half a minute before it calmed down, causing the monsters around it to tremble in fear. They did not understand what was going on. None of the monsters noticed that there was a blood stain around a scale that was much larger than a washbasin on the back of the gigantic monster that was 100 feet tall. In truth, the scale had already fallen off and been placed on its back. Master, the possession is a success. I didn't expect that the power of my soul would be stronger than that of a monster in the initial stage of Blessed Realm. All right, control it well. Just don't let the monsters sense anything unusual. I guarantee that I'll complete the mission, No one expected that the gigantic commander of monsters in the initial stage of Blessed Realm would instantly become Chen Hao's territory, and the monster's life force did not weaken at all. An army was trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. Under Old God's training, Ito Ta finally began to show his worth. Chen Hao, on the other hand, had sneaked into the monster's enormous body without anyone noticing. If this had happened a day ago, Chen Hao would not have been able to do such a strange thing even if he was beaten to death. But now it was easy for him. First, he used the soul-subduing art that Old God had taught him at lightning speed. He used a mental attack to numb the monster's soul for a short period of time. Then, Ito Ta executed the evil art of possession at lightning speed and approached the monster. At the same time, Chen Hao used his fastest speed to break through the monster's scales and crawled into its body. The 3 procedures were completed in one go, and there were no flaws. Even Chen Shui and the others, who saw that Chen Hao was awake through the spirit-channeling mirror, did not understand what had happened. In an instant, the scene in the spirit-channeling mirror turned into a small space that made them feel strange. Inside the monster's body, roar. Ito Ta roared without restraint and vented. He had stayed in Chen Hao's mind for several years, and he had long been bored out of his mind. Although his body was only that of a monster at that moment, it still made him very excited. Unfortunately, even though his soul power had become much stronger under Old God's training and he could completely control the power of this Blessed Realm monster, he did not have any ultimate skills that he could use. First, the monster's physique and the way it circulated its energy was completely different from that of a cultivator. Second, aside from his soul power, he was originally just a low-level cultivator in the nascent soul realm. These were all things that did not make sense. Fortunately, his mission was very simple: another Blessed Realm monster is here. Let it go. When the team on the left saw the Blessed Realm monster controlled by Chen Hao, they immediately took a detour and avoided it. They wanted to leave it for Chen Hao's clone to enjoy. But strangely, the Blessed Realm monster bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It let out strange cries and charged at them. It had to be worth it. There was a distance of 100 miles between them. If there was no need, a monster commander with human intelligence would basically charge in the direction of the supply station. It would definitely not change its direction because they were 100 miles away. Moreover, when the 6 of them widened the area and made enough space for the monster to pass through, the monster charged straight at the weakest among them, who was in the initial stage of Blessed Realm. Bang, 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 the monster horde automatically avoided it. Ito Ta controlled his body, and when there were no monsters obstructing him, he moved as fast as lightning. He traveled 100 miles in the blink of an eye. You're asking for death. The powerful fighter in the initial stage of Blessed Realm was restricted by the monster horde, and his movement speed was greatly limited. At that moment, it was clearly too late for him to avoid the monster in the initial stage of Blessed Realm. With a furious roar, he attacked violently. It was just a monster commander in the initial stage of Blessed Realm. He did not care about it at all. In his eyes, the monster had come to die. The other 5 people who were far away and formed a semicircle with Chen Hao's clone still maintained a certain distance from it. They also did not care about it. They just felt that the monster was a little too abnormal. However, roar. Boom. The monster let out a furious roar that reverberated through the world. Its huge body instantly charged into the air and pressed down on the powerful fighter in the initial stage of Blessed Realm like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. It completely ignored his violent attacks. No matter who it was, the monster was doomed. Die, idiot! Shik! The monster's huge palm swiftly spread open in an agile manner. At the instant its body was struck by the cultivator's violent energy, it released an incredibly fierce and extremely condensed energy. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 436. A pained scream erupted from the cultivator's mouth. At that moment, he felt a bone-chilling cold. Unfortunately, even though he thought that victory was already in his grasp, he could not react in time. He felt a chill at the center of his brows, and he saw the monster's gigantic body being torn to shreds. His eyes widened, and they were filled with terror. How is this possible? That was the last thing he thought. What? The other 4 people in the group did not expect such an outcome. Besides, they did not have time to save the cultivator. He was actually killed by a monster in the initial stage of Blessed Realm? How is this possible? The 4 of them could not understand. Roar. What shocked them even more was that at this moment, the monster whose skin and flesh were lacerated actually let out a furious roar and stood up violently. Raging flames surged around its body, and the huge injuries that its body had received also began to rapidly recover. A mutated monster? F***CK. Junior Brother Yang, go and kill it! Take revenge for Junior Brother Zhang. After a brief moment of shock, the leader of the group, an elite at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm, ordered with a sullen expression. Understood. The person called Junior Brother Yang was an elite at the middle stage of Blessed Realm. He was also the person closest to the person who was killed. In their eyes, even if it was a mutated monster, he would be enough to kill it. After all, the person was already dead. They could not allow a dead person to disrupt their footwork. It was enough to have one person kill the monster and take care of its remains. But 10 minutes later, the faces of the people in the group were ashen. They could no longer care about anything else and charged at the mutated monster. Because the second elite at the middle stage of Blessed Realm did not follow in the footsteps of the first. What happened over there? The other 4 groups only noticed the abnormality at that moment, and they asked one another. F***CK, we ran into a mutated monster here. Gong Chang-san and Yang Si, those 2 idiots died because they were careless. What? A mutated monster? I'll go and kill it first. It won't affect us. Roar. When the remaining 4 furious experts rushed over, the mutated monster raised its head to the sky and let out a terrifying roar. However, before the 4 experts could reach it, the monster tore apart the corpses of the 2 experts and stuffed them into its bloody mouth. No one noticed that a figure that was hidden in all things in the world had quietly left. When the 4 of them arrived, they were all furious and attacked violently. No matter how strong the monster was, it was directly turned into a cloud of blood mist. It couldn't be more dead. Damn it, they can only blame themselves for being too careless. Their team's communication is only established between the 5 leaders. The team's communication is also locked onto the team leader. Then let's do it one by one by one. The formless Chen Hao's handsome face flashed with a touch of coldness and arrogance, filled with endless killing intent. Regardless of whether it was the main culprit or an accomplice, he never knew what mercy was for lowly people who wanted to kill him. Just like when he killed the 30 peerless geniuses in the South Sea Islands, there was nothing he didn't dare to do. Even if the opponent this time was a colossus like the limitless Demon Palace, he didn't have any scruples. Although he knew that if he did so, it would be very troublesome and even dangerous in the future. Silently shuttling through the group of monsters, Chen Hao rushed to another team. The nightmare began to envelop the disciples of the limitless Demon Palace. Through the psychic mirror, Chen Shui and the others who were watching Chen Hao's every move were a little sluggish. When Chen Hao was inside the monster's huge body, they couldn't figure out what their surroundings were. However, when Chen Hao attacked from inside the monster's body and suddenly appeared, and when the monster's body broke open to look outside, they understood what was going on. However, no one could figure out how Chen Hao had done it. But what happened next was even more shocking. In less than 15 minutes, the second squad ran into a mutated monster again. The weakest among them, who was at the initial stage of Blessed Realm, was killed by the mutated monster. With their previous experience, this time, the leader of the squad sent 2 middle-stage Blessed Realm fighters to charge forward. In the end, the 2 middle-stage Blessed Realm experts died, and the mutated monster died together with them. This caused the people from Limitless Demon Palace to feel a little uneasy. Soul Fighter was called to the side of the disciple with the highest cultivation in the team. He was afraid that Soul Fighter would also run into a mutated monster. This monster horde is a little strange. In less than an hour, 2 mutated monsters appeared, and they're extremely powerful. Junior brother Soul Fighter, I don't think we can wait any longer. If we continue to go deeper, if we run into a mutated monster in the middle stage or later stage of Blessed Realm, we might all die. Yes, the one in the middle is most likely to be his real body, so let's take care of it. The other 4 will be left to the 4 of you. We'll approach at the same time and disguise ourselves to form a team with him. We'll try to attack at the same time and don't give him any chance to call for help. Otherwise, at this distance, I'm afraid we won't be able to stop the 2 immortal supremacies from the Limitless Immortal Palace from coming to rescue him. Soul Fighter said coldly. He did not expect Churn Hao's luck to be so good. He thought that by letting the powerful monsters pass, Churn Hao's real body would be exposed. But now, before Churn Hao's real body was exposed, 5 of them had already died. Understood. The 5 of us are at the peak of the late stage of Blessed Realm. Do you think we can make him do anything? Let's go. Hiss hiss hiss. At this moment, the 5 teams immediately surrounded Churn Hao's 5 doppelgangers. Doing so was very risky. It was not that they were taking a risk, but that Churn Hao had discovered them. If he saw their purpose and directly called for help, then their operation would be in vain. After all, they were only 1,000 miles away from the supply station. With the abilities of the 2 celestial paragons, they could arrive in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, as they approached without any purpose, Churn Hao's 5 doppelgangers did not react even though they had clearly discovered them. They continued to execute their own ultimate techniques and madly killed the monsters around them as they continued to venture deeper. It had to be said that Churn Hao's strength had already shocked all of them to the point that they could not be any more shocked. It was already unbelievable that Churn Hao alone could be so strong, but it was even more unbelievable that he could still maintain his strength after splitting into 5 doppelgangers. You can't hold on anymore? Churn Hao wanted to kill a few more, but when he sensed their movements, he knew that the possibility of him killing them one by one with the mutated monsters was not high. Killing 5 people in a row, 2 in the early stage of Blessed Realm and 3 in the middle stage of Blessed Realm, seemed easy, but Churn Hao had used up a lot of energy. Moreover, Churn Hao knew that this was the result of a sneak attack. If he had fought them head-on, it would have been impossible for him to have such an effect. Split up. After thinking about it for a moment, Churn Hao sucked in a deep breath and made a decision. Suddenly, the 5 doppelgangers changed their direction and spread out to the sides at an even greater speed. Churn Hao hid in the body of a monster in the early stage of Blessed Realm and approached the group furthest to the side without any obstructions. F***CK, another mutated monster? Churn Hao had already killed 2 people in the furthest left group, so there were only 4 people left. With their previous experience, when they saw the monster commander in the early stage of Blessed Realm charge toward one of them at a terrifying speed without any obstructions, the other 3 instantly roared in anger. I'll kill it first. Shit. Since the 4 of them wanted to surround and kill Churn Hao, they were not very far away from him. When they saw the monster's abnormal actions, how could they dare to let one of them face him? The elite at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm instantly turned into a stream of light and charged through the layers of monsters. Hiss! Roar! When the monster was only 1,000 feet away from the cultivator, and the elite at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm was only 3,000 feet away from the monster. No one knew that Chun Hao and Itoda had already left without a sound. The monster, whose soul had suddenly returned to its body, let out a furious roar at the sky, venting the endless frustration it had just felt. Die for me. Shik shik shik. Rumble, roar, the monster, who had just gotten a breather, did not expect that it would be greeted with a violent attack from an elite at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm. It did not even have time to react before it was reduced to ashes. Amazing, Senior Brother Zhao is really a martial artist in the later stage of Blessed Realm was cheering for his senior brother, but before he could finish his sentence, his voice came to an abrupt halt. His head exploded like a watermelon, and a terrifying explosion followed. When the people from Limitless Demon Palace reacted, they saw many monsters fighting over the elite at the late stage of Blessed Realm. What's going on? What's going on? All of them widened their eyes in shock as they stared at the scene in the mediumship mirror. Chills ran down their spines. Immediately after, when everyone's attention was attracted by the elite who had suddenly died, a shrill scream of pain rose into the air. Another elite at the middle stage of Blessed Realm had his heart pierced through by an extremely terrifying and fierce power. In just a moment, 2 people had died. The first was Chun Hao using the crowd's mentality to create a diversion. The second person had died completely due to shock, and chills running down his spine. That was all. It seemed simple, but to Chun Hao it was a great risk. If there was even the slightest mistake, he would be exposed. Hence, when he attacked twice, not only did he have to hide in the world, he also had to use dark energy to envelop his body at the moment he attacked so that the enemy's mediumship mirror could not see him clearly. Once he was discovered, he would not be able to continue with his sneak attack. There's an elite. There's definitely an elite. At that moment, as long as they were not idiots, they would know that they had been ambushed by an elite. When they thought about the situation with the mutated monsters, their hearts turned cold. There was no doubt that the so-called mutated monsters were completely under the control of an elite. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 437. Everyone, be careful. It's Wuji Immortal Palace's ultimate concealment technique. F***CK. No wonder this brat dared to come out on his own. Kill him first. No matter what, we have to kill this brat. When Soul Fighter saw the fear in everyone's eyes, he made up his mind and roared directly into the communication device. If Chun Hao escaped this time, then the chances of finding and killing Chun Hao again would be very slim. The reason was simple. In the world of cultivation, aside from irreconcilable grudges such as the destruction of sects and clans, cultivators of all levels were restricted by the rules of the world of cultivation. Experts above the deity level could not attack those in the Blessed Realm. If Chun Hao, who was half-stepped to the Blessed Realm, was already so strong, what would happen if he stepped into the Blessed Realm? A hidden expert can't be that strong. Otherwise, why would he ambush us? Moreover, he's attacking those who are alone? Every team, gather together quickly and kill that brat's clone. Soul Fighter said coldly when he saw that everyone was still hesitating. Alright. Hiss. Rumble. Rumble. At that moment, the group finally stopped hiding their auras and began to attack violently. They closed in on Chun Hao's clone as fast as lightning. Be careful. Follow me. There were only 2 people left in the team. The late-stage Blessed Realm expert who led the team cautiously said to the middle-stage Blessed Realm expert with a gloomy expression. Yes, cold sweat dripped down the middle-stage Blessed Realm expert's forehead. He could not hide the fear on his face even if he wanted to. He was extremely nervous, afraid that in the next moment, he would become the target of the expert who was hiding in the surroundings. Hiss. An imperceptible breeze drifted to the right of Chun Hao's clone, who was the closest to the two-man team. Phew! Chen Hao, who was hidden in the world, let out a long sigh. Then, he took a deep breath. His aura was completely restrained at that moment. However, his mind had completely fused with every wisp of energy in his body. He was like a coiled dragon. It was fine if he did not move, but once he moved, it would definitely be an earth-shattering attack. Peak of the late stage of Blessed Realm. If I can kill him in one strike, then it's naturally good. If I can't, then I can only run. These few attacks have already consumed more than half of my true essence, but if I want to escape, it shouldn't be a problem. Chen Hao's eyes were like a venomous snake, staring at the two people who were quickly approaching. Die, brat. Chi 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 chi. Almost at the same time, Chen Hao's 5 doppelgangers were suddenly attacked by the number 1 experts of the 5 group. They knew very well that since someone was hiding in the surroundings, Chen Hao would have sent out a call for help long ago if he wanted to. No matter what, in their opinion, this was going to be a difficult battle. Moreover, how many hidden experts did the other side have? This was not something they could have predicted. However, just as Soul Fighter had said, it would not be very strong. Otherwise, why not just start a war? Therefore, at this moment, their only goal was to use the most violent and powerful attack to kill Chen Hao in one strike, regardless of whether it was the clone or the main body. Once they did this, it would be time for them to quickly leave. They did not have the guts to compete with an expert who was hiding in the surroundings. The enemy was in the dark while they were out in the open. It was really unwise, ah? Hiss hiss hiss. At this moment, Chen Hao's 5 doppelgangers suddenly turned into 5 rays of light at the same time, as if they had disappeared into thin air. Soul Fighter, who was guarding the center like a national treasure, was extremely shocked when he saw Chen Hao's doppelgangers disappear. After all, according to his judgment, the doppelgangers in the middle were most likely Chen Hao's main body. But now, they had disappeared into thin air. What did this mean? It meant that these were really Chen Hao's doppelgangers, and not the main body. Chi. But at this moment the two groups were even more terrified. The Blessed Realm expert had launched his strongest attack at Chen Hao's doppelgangers, but Chen Hao's doppelgangers had disappeared into thin air. This was more or less what he had expected. After all, the doppelgangers that he was dealing with were not real. What really frightened him was the fierce and extremely condensed attack that suddenly came from the side. At this moment, his hair stood on end, and the energy around his body surged out with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Boom! A terrifying explosion suddenly sounded. A figure was like a shooting star that streaked across the sky, disappearing in a flash. The moment he disappeared, he spat out a mouthful of blood and even sent several flying monsters at the late primordial soul realm flying. The expert at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm was also sent flying by the terrifying energy. A hole that was twice the size of a fist appeared beside his heart, and blood gushed out like a fountain. This was the first time he had been so close to death. If he had not been on high alert, the bloody hole would not have been beside his heart, but his heart. This was the result of him madly activating all his energy to defend himself in the face of death. He believed that even if they were to face each other head-on, such a fierce and condensed attack would still be able to severely injure him, let alone a sneak attack. The two most fatal parts of a cultivator were the head and the heart. The head was a fatal blow, but the heart depended on the situation. If the heart was completely destroyed in an instant, even a deity would find it difficult to save him, unless he had the undying bloodline like Chen Hao. Kill him! It's that brat, it's definitely that brat. Boom, boom, boom. Figures quickly charged toward Chen Hao, who had only revealed himself for an instant. Unfortunately, they were too far away. There were hundreds of miles between them, and there was also a dense horde of monsters. No matter how fast they were, how fast could they be? Chen Hao was also severely injured. If it were not for the fact that the mid-stage Blessed Realm expert did not dare to attack, Chun Hao would definitely have been forced to reveal himself. But now, Chun Hao had taken advantage of the fact that the heavily injured Peak Blessed Realm expert had yet to catch his breath to disappear into the horde of monsters. Chun Hao endured the churning of his organs and swam through the horde of monsters like a fish. Then, he worked together with the old god and Ito Ta to attack at the same time. Ito Ta possessed a monster at the late stage of the Essence Soul Realm and made it his temporary safe haven. Moreover, he did not dare to move too violently. He controlled the monster and followed the horde of monsters in a rather hidden manner to approach the supply station. Phew! What a pity! If I had attacked the Peak Blessed Realm expert from the beginning, I would have definitely succeeded. Chun Hao brought out a mutated immortal fruit that was worth cities from the monster's body and swallowed it. But I didn't dare to do this at the beginning. Being able to do this is already beyond my expectations. Chun Hao had just stepped into the half-step to Blessed Realm, and he could only truly verify his assessment of his strength through battle. If he had attacked the Peak Blessed Realm expert at the beginning, he would have succeeded. But at that time, he did not dare to act recklessly. He could only start from the weakest. In the end, when he had no choice but to expose himself, he tried to attack the Peak Blessed Realm expert. Unfortunately, due to his high vigilance, he was a little too slow and did not succeed. Moreover, the power of a Peak Blessed Realm expert was not something Chun Hao could face head-on. 2 in the early stage of the Blessed Realm, 3 in the middle stage of the Blessed Realm, and 2 in the late stage of the Blessed Realm. That's not bad, right? Soul Fighter is lucky. If he had not been surrounded and protected in the middle, he would have definitely killed this brat first. Chun Hao circulated his true origin to heal his injuries as he thought to himself. At the same time, he used his powerful soul perception to sense the movements of Soul Fighter and the others. What made him feel slightly at ease, but also slightly disappointed, was that the group of people only killed a few monsters nearby before they gathered together. They did not care about killing the monsters and headed in the direction of the supply station. Obviously, they were frightened by Chun Hao's sneak attack. When they passed by the area where Chun Hao was hiding, Chun Hao really had the urge to attack again, but he had no choice but to suppress it. Not to mention that he was already injured. Even if he was in peak condition, he would not be able to escape even if he could kill one or even a few of them. Using his own life to exchange for the lives of a few dogs? How could he do such an idiotic thing? Ha ha ha! Kill them! Kill them all! At the foot of the city wall, Proud Heaven's Guardian group, which had been the focus of countless people's attention, soon became lazy because of Chun Hao's departure. The speed at which they killed monsters also decreased greatly, which puzzled many people. All of them seemed to be in a daze, and no one knew what they were thinking. But when Chun Hao escaped into a monster's body and began to heal his injuries, all of them suddenly became energetic and in high spirit. Damn it, these beasts dare to make an enemy out of us? Die, die, die. One by one, they shouted excitedly and attacked violently. 7 of them, who were only half-step to the manifestation realm, had killed 7 of the enemy's experts. Even the last expert, who was at the peak of the late primordial spirit realm, almost died. How could this group of people not be excited by such a terrifying battle record? Jiang Hai and Huang Wenshu broke out in cold sweat. They were glad that they had made a wise decision. If they had stubbornly gone against Chun Hao, they would not even know how they died. Realms were all fleeting clouds. Who would have thought that a half-step to the manifestation realm could kill someone at the late primordial spirit realm, or even at the peak of the late primordial spirit realm? And the other party was a genius disciple of the limitless demon palace. At least, Jiang Hai and Huang Wenshu had never heard of anyone in the limitless immortal palace who had this ability. What? When Soul Fighter and the others were about 300 miles away from the city wall, Fan Suixin, who had been waiting impatiently on the city wall, suddenly changed his expression when he saw Soul Fighter and the others. 7 people are missing. Do we have to sacrifice 7 people to kill that kid? Among this group of people, Fan Suishin only had a special connection with Soul Fighter. He had always been able to determine how deep Soul Fighter and the others had gone. But as for what exactly had happened, even he, an Earth immortal, could not sense it due to the interference of the seal of the supply station and the aura of the beast tide. But when he sensed that Soul Fighter had gone 500 miles, he concluded that he could kill Chun Hao. But he did not expect that it would take so long, and even more unexpected that 7 people had not returned. What did it mean if they had not returned? It meant that they had died. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 438. Trash, what a bunch of trash. There are so many experts, but 7 of them were sacrificed just to deal with that kid. 2 of them are at the late stage of the manifestation realm. How can that kid be so strong? They must have underestimated him. Fan Suishin did not know that if he walked out of the VIP area on the city wall and looked back at the ranking pagoda tablet, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. Few, on the city wall, Meng Yichong, who had been busy receiving the immortal venerables, heaved a long sigh of relief when he saw Soul Fighter and the rest approaching the city wall. This kid is really incredible. Although I don't know how he did it, it's a miracle that he killed 7 people who are far above him. Meng Yichong was slightly excited. He was always paying attention to the names on the pagoda tablet. None of the dead people could escape his eyes. Soul Fighter and the rest had returned with their faces covered in dust. 7 of their names had disappeared from the pagoda tablet, but Chun Hao's name was still flashing on the tablet. With such talent and combat strength, we should definitely report this to the headquarters. Not long after Soul Fighter and the rest arrived at the city wall, a figure came out from the depths of the beast tide. The power that erupted from the figure was not strong, and the secret technique that he used was also very simple. However, the efficiency of this figure was terrifying. Every time he used a simple technique, a beast would fall. There was no exception. Trash. A bunch of trash. Crack. Bang. There was no need for Soul Fighter and the rest to report. Fan Suishin, who was sitting in the VIP room on the city wall, had the teacup in his hand turned into powder. The tea table in front of him was also turned into a cup. 7 people are dead, but this kid is still alive. How is this possible? Boss, come out with me later, Chun Hao said directly when he returned to the team. His body was stained with blood. Some of it belonged to the beasts, and some belonged to him. However, his injuries were nothing to him at the moment. However, the current battle was meaningless to him. Moreover, he needed to recover to his peak state to prepare for the next wave of challenges from Soul Fighter and the rest. After killing so many of their people, how could they possibly let the matter rest? Letting them train their tenacity was just an excuse, especially for Huyen Aobo and the others. In this 1 year, under his brilliance, they were not lacking in ruthlessness and determination. Especially after experiencing this life and death crisis, each and every one of them had astonishing gains. Of course, Chun Hao had his own reasons for calling everyone back. After the supply point protection barrier was activated, Chun Hao led everyone back to the supply station. Soul Fighter and the others also flew into the supply depot with ugly expressions on their faces. Apart from the looks in their eyes that made them want to strangle Chun Hao to death, they couldn't even let out a fart. They had to be prepared to be scolded by Fan Wuxin. Boss, you are really too powerful, hee. After returning to the palace, Huyen Aobo and the others immediately praised him excitedly. I was just lucky. In a one-on-one fight, I can barely fight against a master in the late stage of the manifestation realm. But if it's a sneak attack, even a master at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm won't be able to escape from me. However, As long as they are not idiots, I definitely won't have such a chance next time. Boss, Heartbroken Palace lost more than 20 genius disciples this time. Not to mention Soul Fighter, even their palace master, Fan Suishin, won't let us go. I think it's better to tell Venerable Immortal Han Mei and Venerable Immortal Yun Wei about this. Just this time they sent so many masters. If we rely on ourselves, I'm afraid we won't be able to train in the future. Huang Wenshu said. Would their palace master, Fan Suishin, dare to attack us? Chen Hao frowned. That won't happen, but masters in the manifestation realm won't be a problem. This time there were 30 of them. After knowing your strength, how many will they send next time? With the Limitless Demon Palace's methods, they will definitely do everything they can to get back at you. If you all join our Limitless Immortal Palace and train in the designated places, we won't be afraid of them. What I mean is, if we want to train freely in the future, I'm afraid we can't. Don't worry. They are only in the manifestation realm. As long as we all reach the manifestation realm, I don't believe they can take us down. We just have to endure for a while. Alright, next, we have to increase our strength with all our strength. This beast tide will last for at least a month. Originally, if our realms hadn't increased, the first 10 days would be more suitable for us to train. But now, we have to wait for at least 10 days before our battlefield. So, there are still 8 days left. Let's train with all our strength. I can feel that after going through the life and death crisis, all of us have gained a lot. Have you all not fully digested it? Chen Hao casually changed the topic. Yes. I have faint signs of breaking through to half-step to manifestation realm. I can feel that I only need to train for a few days to break through. Huyen Aobo said. Me too. I've never felt it so clearly before. Meng Xiao said. Cough cough. Looks like everyone has gained a lot. I thought I was the best. That's strange. Could it be because of our blood oath? Bailey Lianqing said. It should be. The blood oath will connect our luck. We did it under the threat of life and death. None of us have any selfish motives. The effect should be better. Of course, for all of us to be like this, a large part of it should be because of boss, right? First King said. This boss influence is definitely there. There's also one more thing. I feel like we've entered the legendary demonic realm. Jiang Hai said at this moment. That's right. It should be the demonic realm. Huang Wenshu said. Both of them were direct disciples of the Limitless Immortal Palace. Their knowledge was definitely much better than Huyen Aobo and the others. Demonic realm? Chen Hao frowned slightly. The demonic berserk realm is an opportunity that is even rarer than enlightenment. It can only appear under the constant pressure of life and death situations. We've only heard Master talk about it occasionally. Once you enter this realm, your soul, body, state of mind, will, and so on will all receive astonishing improvements. I only need to cultivate for a while more and I'll be able to trigger the divine punishment. Jiang Hai, who was already half a step to the manifestation realm, said. Me too. At most 2 or 3 months. Huang Wenshu said. I'm about the same. Chen Shui said softly. That should be it. Hearing Jiang Hai's words, Chen Hao thought for a while and said, All right, let's all cultivate. We'll start again in 8 days. Okay. What you're doing is very dangerous. After stepping into the cultivation room, Chen Shui came to the wall that Chen Hao had pierced through and said, Chi chi chi. Chen Hao quickly expanded the hole in the wall and went directly to Chen Shui's side. He held Chen Shui's waist and said, What's the danger? Don't be like this. Chen Shui hurriedly pushed Chen Hao away. What are you afraid of? Did anyone see? He. Chen Hao held Chen Shui firmly. Chen Shui's face was flushed red and her expression was very strange. If you're not in danger, I'll feel better. But what about them? They don't have carving techniques. If they're surrounded, how can they escape? How can they escape? A late-stage manifestation realm expert is not someone they can fight against, Chen Shui said with a red face. She stopped struggling and did not dare to look at Chen Hao. Little Shui, you're a little strange today. What are you afraid of? Only with pressure will we have motivation. We just need to. Not everyone can be like you. You're simply fooling around. You want to hide such a big thing from me? Hiss, mother. Chen Hao was suddenly embarrassed. He did not expect that Venerable Han Mei would come at this time and under such circumstances. Chen Hao felt like he was caught in the act. The hole in the wall was too eye-catching. Chen Shui lowered her head and pushed Chen Hao away. Her face was flushed red. Although she was shy, she did not seem to be surprised. Only at this time did Chen Hao vaguely understand why Chen Shui was a little strange. If you want their good, then leave it all to me. Your road is destined to be lonely. Venerable Han Mei looked straight at Chen Hao and said, That's right. Hiss. At this time, what made Chen Hao even more embarrassed was that Venerable Yun Wei suddenly appeared. Chen Hao was depressed. Damn it, Venerable Yun Wei is too shameless. She doesn't even leave me any privacy. Fortunately, it was only a hole today. If it was when I did that with little Shui, it would be terrible. Of course, Chen Shui seemed to know that Venerable Han Mei was coming, so that kind of situation would not happen. However, Chen Hao could not figure out why Chen Shui hid it from him. Little guy, you're a little biased. Venerable Yun Wei had a smile on her face as she looked at the hole in the wall and said, My 3 precious disciples have just met you. You don't even know how to be intimate with them. Cough cough. Chen Hao coughed awkwardly. How could he not understand the meaning behind Venerable Yun Wei's words? Venerable Yun Wei, this is not the time to be sentimental. I understand. This little guy's path is indeed destined to be lonely. As for your brothers and sisters, let me and Han Mei Immortal Venerable take turns to take care of them for you. Taking them with you, 1 is restricting yourself, and 2 is putting them in danger. With your talent, even my 3 precious disciples, and little Shui, they can't catch up to you. That's right. Although Venerable Han Mei was unhappy with Venerable Yun Wei's arrival, she could only choose to compromise and said, It's okay if you care about them. You can come and see them from time to time. If you really want to be with them, it's not good for you and them. Without you, they will develop better, but with you, they might die prematurely. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 439. Ahem. Your growth is destined to be filled with endless troubles because of your character and your luck. And your troubles are not something that they can face with you. At least now is not the time. This, they won't agree. Chen Hao said. They will agree. Xiao Shui, what do you think? Chen Shui nodded and stared at Chen Hao. Mother and Immortal Reverend Yun Wei are right. We will wait for you to reach the peak. Chen Shui's voice became softer and softer until it became a voice transmission. Me and them will be your cultivation companions. Although she was very shy, her beautiful eyes were staring straight at Chen Hao. Although the word cultivation companions was very soft, it revealed an incomparable firmness. This was the decision that Chen Shui made when she saw that Chen Hao was going to fight against 30 creation realm experts alone. Why did she risk her life to pass the level? It was so that she could be with Chen Hao. But when they were really together, she suddenly realized that the distance between her and Chen Hao had not shrunk, but increased. She thought of what her mother had said to her. Perhaps it was true. Under Chen Hao's halo, their growth would definitely be fast, but it would inevitably affect Chen Hao. Moreover, their growth trajectory would also be affected by Chen Hao and completely changed. This was not what she wanted. Especially after Helian Wuzi and the other 2 arrived, she felt that she had lost herself. In fact, Helian Wuzi and the others had the same feeling. But I have. Chen Hao frowned and said, but he was interrupted again. No buts. It's settled. Xiaoyan and the other two will be fine. This time, they are only here to meet you. I can't let them follow you. Immortal Reverend Yunwei said. Xiao Shui can talk to the others. There won't be a problem. Immortal Reverend Han Mei said. Chen Hao still wanted to say something, but in the face of the overbearing of the two immortal reverends, he hesitated for a moment and finally chose to compromise. While Chen Hao and the others were in a state of cultivation, Soul Fighter and the others had their heads lowered as they endured Fan Suixin's spittle and scolding in a huge palace in the depths of the residential complex. The old man was fuming with anger. He was someone who cared about his reputation the most. 17 of Soul Fighter's 18 men had already made him vomit blood. This time, he had personally arranged for so many experts in the manifestation realm, but he had lost 7 of them. Moreover, 2 of them were in the late stage of the manifestation realm. With such a huge loss, even he, the palace master, would not be able to explain it to the limitless demon palace. How could he not be angry? Trash, trash. I'm so angry. Tell me, what's going on? Soul Fighter and the others, who were as silent as cicadas in winter, only dared to make a sound when they heard Fan Suixin's words. They looked at each other, and in the end, it was Soul Fighter who told them what had happened. This time, even though Soul Fighter was very unwilling, he could only tell them everything about Chen Hao's abnormal and terrifying strength. When Fan Suixin heard that Chen Hao could manipulate the manifestation realm monsters to confuse them, and that he could make the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm disciples unable to sense his concealment, his expression became extremely ugly. In particular, when the severely injured peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm disciple said that Chen Hao's attack power was so strong that even he would be injured if he faced it head-on, he was even more shocked. A half-step to the manifestation realm cultivator has such abnormal strength. Fan Suixin paced back and forth with a gloomy face. After a full half a minute, he suddenly looked at Soul Fighter and the others and said, "If we didn't offend him at the beginning, it would have been fine. But now that things have come to this, we have to kill him at all costs. I'm afraid it's impossible here. Soul Fighter, take my token and find out everything about this kid. Whether you can kill him or not is also a test for you. I'll arrange 10 peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm for you. In addition, I'll give you the upper-grade spirit treasure Heavenly Eye. It's up to you how to do it." "Thank you, Master." 8 days later. Below the city wall, the monster tide within a few hundred miles had strengthened to the point that most of the monsters were at the peak of the late stage of the primordial soul realm or half-step to the manifestation realm. There was at least 1 monster in the early stage of the manifestation realm for every 100 monsters. After 8 days of seclusion, the members of Proud Heavens finally began to hunt. During this time, Chen Shui had already gathered Huyan Aobua and the others. Accompanied by 2 immortal primes, she told them her idea. After hearing the news, everyone's expression was solemn, but they all agreed without hesitation. They were not stupid. After this life-and-death crisis and the conflict with the limitless demon palace, they had already realized that they were not on the same level as Chen Hao. Although their realms were almost the same, the difference in their combat strength was too great. If they continued to follow Chen Hao, as Immortal Yunwei said, they would be in danger. They might be able to survive this time, but what about the next time? Moreover, the reason they were able to advance in this crisis was not because of Soul Fighter and the others, but because of the powerful monster horde. The battle between Soul Fighter and the others in Chen Hao was completely beyond their level. They did not even have the right to participate. How could they improve? Fortunately, Chen Hao blocked it. And he blocked Chen Hao in a dangerous situation. If it were not for them, Chen Hao would definitely be able to escape easily. There was no doubt about that. This was also the most important thing. They would be a burden to Chen Hao. The endless wilderness was filled with an ancient and desolate aura. There were endless mountain peaks and overgrown old forests. It was so quiet that it was a little scary. Looking from afar, on many mountain peaks, one could see abandoned and dilapidated ancient palaces. These palaces were extremely large. Although they were dilapidated and had been there for tens of thousands of years, they still exuded the grandeur and vastness of the past. This was the area left behind by the ancient sects in the central continent. In addition to the foreign monsters and ancient fierce beasts, there were also countless broken mechanisms and restrictions here. Some had lost their power, but some still had a trace of function. But it was these remaining mechanisms and restrictions that made this area with a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles one of the most dangerous places in the central continent. Only cultivators above the creation realm dared to step in. Whoosh, a gust of wind blew, and the weeds on the mountainside that were taller than a person bent down, revealing the figure of a young man. The young man had a handsome face that could make women's hearts beat and men jealous. At this moment, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and his pitch-black eyes were full of ridicule as he stared into the distance. His clothes were full of holes and dried blood stains. Just by looking at this, it was clear that this young man had experienced a fierce battle. But what was strange was that through the tattered clothes, the exposed skin of the young man was sparkling like jade, without the slightest trace of a wound. This young man was Chun Hao. 25 people at the peak of the advanced stage of the creation realm. They really think highly of me. Chun Hao's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness as he thought to himself. Whoosh! Another gust of wind blew and Chun Hao's entire body instantly blended into the gust of wind, leaving no trace behind. Over there! Chase! Hiss hiss hiss! The moment the young man disappeared, several figures quickly appeared in the air. One of the young men's cultivation was obviously the weakest. He was only at the peak of the initial stage of the creation realm, but he was surrounded by a group of experts. It was obvious that he was the leader of the group. This young man was the chief disciple of the younger generation of the Limitless Demon Palace's Heartbroken Hall, Soul Fighter. Everyone, restrain your aura. Surrounded by the group, Soul Fighter flew quickly. His eyes shone brightly as he locked onto a faintly discernible aura in front of him. This young man is really bold. He doesn't take us seriously at all. He knows that we won't let him go, but he still dares to come here. Ha ha, isn't this what we want? The two celestial primes of the limitless celestial palace overestimated this young man. They took everyone away but left this young man behind. Do they really think that this young man is a human immortal? Don't let your guard down. You haven't seen how abnormal this young man is. One of the experts at the peak of the advanced stage of the creation realm said cautiously. This person was the disciple who had almost been pierced through the heart by Chun Hao. 2 months ago, even if this young man fought with me directly, I would have been seriously injured if I wanted to kill him. Now, he has been in seclusion in Dian City for more than a month. Although he is still at the half-step to the creation realm, I feel that his combat strength has definitely improved tremendously and what? I feel that he has something to rely on. Is it possible? He is only so bold because of his concealment technique. Unfortunately, with the upper-grade spiritual treasure that my master gave me, it is impossible for him to escape my senses, Soul Fighter said. At this moment, not only did he have the upper-grade spiritual treasure, Heavenly Eye, which could see through concealment techniques, he also had the upper-grade spiritual treasure, Mortal Dust, which could conceal one's aura. As for the other 25 people, they were all at the peak of the advanced stage of the creation realm. Therefore, he believed that as long as they concealed their auras, Chun Hao would never discover their existence. Even if they were within 100 miles of Chun Hao, it would not be a problem. Under the sharing of God's eye, everyone could also sense Chun Hao's aura. These abandoned palaces are the remains of the ancient sect that has existed for hundreds of thousands of years? Hiss! A cool breeze blew past, and Chern Hao's figure appeared on top of a mountain. He stared at the dilapidated palaces in front of him and said with a hint of excitement in his eyes, Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei had suggested that Chern Hao come to the remains of the ancient sect. 2 months ago, when they were at the 160th supply station in Great Yen City, Chern Hao and the others were unable to resist the beast tide as the intensity of the beast tide increased. At the request of the 2 celestial venerables, he separated from the rest. Huyen Aobo and the others had gone to the Wuji Palace. Chern Hao stayed in the Alliance Cultivation Hall in Great Yen City and cultivated in seclusion for 1.5 months. After making sufficient preparations, he stepped out of Great Yen City. He came directly here. At this moment, Chern Hao's aura was still at the half-step to creation realm. Judging from his aura alone, he had not improved much compared to 2 months ago. However, if a cultivator below the man-god stage wanted to kill him, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidyan. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 440. This is it. Once I get rid of these guys, it will be time for me to go to the Wuji Immortal Palace. Aren't they just some creation realm cultivators? Chern Hao promised the 2 celestial primes, but they didn't know that Chern Hao had only agreed temporarily. Who said that geniuses were destined to be lonely? He didn't believe in heresy, and he was confident that he could lead everyone to become stronger. Of course, the source of this confidence was his fusion with the old god. Before the fusion was completed, Chern Hao was afraid that he would have to listen to the 2 celestial primes' advice. Now, it was time for Chern Hao to prove himself. Chern Hao calmly landed on the huge platform in front of the dilapidated palace. This platform had a radius of 100 miles. Although it was bumpy and even covered with weeds, it still exuded the glory and atmosphere of the past. In the center was a golden palace that was incompatible with the ancient aura of the platform. Above the entrance of the palace, there was a huge plaque with the words, Alliance Ancient Sect Ruins Number 93 written on it. On the right side of the door, there was a huge stone tablet that introduced the situation in the ruins in detail. I hope this kid is qualified to enter. After Chern Hao stepped into the newly built palace, several figures came to the entrance of the palace as fast as lightning. However, they still hid their auras. Although there were countless opportunities to attack, they didn't dare to act rashly because they didn't have the confidence to kill him in one blow. Moreover, Chern Hao's boldness made them suspect that the 2 celestial primes deliberately let him mislead them. But now, as long as Chern Hao could enter the ancient sect ruins, they had nothing to worry about. Experts above the human celestial realm were absolutely unable to enter the ancient sect ruins number 93. Only cultivators below the creation realm could enter. After entering, the space was filled with a large number of ancient beasts and array mechanisms. As long as one was strong enough, one could enter the various cultivation holy lands left behind by the ancient sections. These holy lands, after hundreds of thousands of years, could still be preserved, which was enough to prove their strength. Moreover, those with great luck and opportunity had a high chance of obtaining inherited magic treasures and unique skills. The ancient sect ruins number 93 was discovered by the Alliance and was protected by the Alliance. It opened once a year at a fixed time. If one wanted to enter, they had to pay a sufficient fee, and their strength also had to meet the entry requirement. Once a cultivator entered, they would be blocked by the aura of the relic and lose all contact with the outside world. Whether he lived or died would depend on his own strength. Definitely. 2 months ago, his attack power was not much weaker than someone at the peak of the late stage of the Blessed Realm. He must be even stronger now, said the cultivator who had been severely injured by Chern Hao. Let's get ready. Once he goes in, we won't have any scruples. Mo Wu Xian's face flashed with a trace of coldness and excitement as he said, Half step to blessed realm? Little brother, did you make a mistake? Ruin Site 93 is only suitable for cultivators in the middle or later stage of the blessed realm to train. When Chun Hao stepped into the Alliance Palace, several Alliance staff members sensed Chun Hao's aura, and one of them said kindly, "That's right, I want to come here. Please help me with the procedures. It seems like there's only an hour left to enter." Chun Hao said with a smile, "You have to think carefully. If you can't pass the entry qualification test, the fee you paid will not be refunded." The old man reminded him again. "Here are 5 million high-grade primal crystal stones." Chun Hao did not say anything else and directly handed his guardian token and a storage ring to the old man. "All right." The old man shook his head and said. Everyone looked at Chun Hao and already thought of him as a hedonistic disciple of a large faction. However, beep. Chun Hao? When the old man took Chun Hao's guardian token and registered, he was surprised when he saw Chun Hao's information and looked at Chun Hao. "What's wrong, senior?" Chun Hao was slightly puzzled. "No. Nothing. Welcome to our number 93 historical site. Your identity has been confirmed. You can enter for free. Brother Chun, please go in. Good luck." As the old man spoke, a door made of unknown material and covered with mysterious runes opened with a rumble. He smiled and made an inviting gesture to Chun Hao. "Free? There's no need to test? Your guardian's information shows that your combat power is level 9. There's no need to test. Moreover, you are an elite guardian specially approved by the Alliance headquarters. In the future, any activity within the Alliance's sphere of influence will be free. The Alliance will provide you with all the best conditions." Ahem. Chun Hao looked at the old man who became unusually respectful in front of him strangely. "Senior, what's going on? I seem to be just an ordinary level 4 guardian. What do you mean by level 9 combat power? What does elite guardian mean?" "Haha, this is a special situation. Only after being recommended by an expert in the Alliance and approved by the Alliance headquarters can you obtain this special honor. Wait a moment, I'll check for you," the old man said as he sent out a stream of energy into the token again. After a while, the old man raised his head and looked at Chun Hao. "No wonder you didn't know. The Alliance headquarters approved it 4 hours ago. Brother Chun, you were recommended to the Alliance headquarters by Dian City. Level 9 combat power has nothing to do with one's realm. It's a level evaluation to prove one's ability to challenge someone of a higher realm. Level 9 means that you have the ability to challenge a genius disciple in the late stage of the manifestation realm. This is quite a high level. Anyone who reaches level 9 combat power will become an elite guardian of the Alliance and receive special care from the Alliance. This is because you might be the top expert in the entire boundless world in the future. Brother Chin, don't you know that someone recommended you? This. I know now. Thank you, Senior. You're welcome. Please go in. Brother Chun, be careful. Once you go in, you can only come out after 3 months. Ancient beasts, mechanisms, restrictions, and cultivators who enter, you have to be careful. Understood. Senior Meng Yichong is really generous. This has helped me save 5 million high-grade primal crystal stones. In the future, it will be free in the Alliance. How much should I save? Although Chun Hao had stones of inestimable value, he did not exchange them for primal crystal stones. How could he be happy if it was free? Shaking his head, Chun Hao cast aside the distracting thoughts in his mind and looked at the long and narrow passage in front of him. This was a circular passageway that was covered in profound talisman markings and restrictions. At the end of the passageway, a milky white light flickered. Shockingly, it was a teleportation door. As soon as he stepped in, Chun Hao appeared in a hall that was constantly buzzing. Half-step to manifestation realm? TSK. I wonder which great faction's monstrous genius is this? The moment he appeared, Chun Hao attracted the attention of many people who were waiting for the ruins to open. The ancient sect ruins opened on this day every year, and it would only open for a few minutes. Therefore, cultivators who wanted to enter the ruins could go through the alliance 2 days in advance and wait in this hall for the ruins to open. At this moment, there was only an hour before the ruins opened. Almost all the cultivators who wanted to enter the ruins had arrived, and there were as many as 500 people. Although it might be a hindrance to rope him in, it's not bad to be able to make friends with such a person. Immediately, many of the experts who had formed a pair began to move closer to Chun Hao. Everyone knew that to be qualified to enter at half-step to Manifestation Realm, one's combat strength and talent must be very high. In particular, Chun Hao's life aura was very young. Even if his current strength was slightly weaker, it would be good to be able to make friends with such a genius. Unfortunately, several olive branches extended, including beautiful women, were all rejected by Chun Hao with a smile. Seeing that Chun Hao had no intention of forming a group, the others did not try anymore. Chun Hao also sat down cross-legged and slowly closed his eyes, waiting for the group of idiots who thought they had hidden well to appear. Brother, I'm Xiang Tianshao, a disciple of Wuji Immortal Palace. How should I address you? Chun Hao did not expect that there would still be someone who did not give up and came up to him. The person who came was only at the initial stage of the manifestation realm, but he was very young. At best, he was about the same age as Chun Hao. He was definitely not older than 1 year old. Moreover, with Chun Hao's sharp soul perception, he could clearly feel that the young man's body contained a majestic and terrifying energy, which surprised Chun Hao slightly. Chun Hao. Sorry, I'm used to training by myself, Chun Hao had to say again. Haha, me too. I wonder which force Brother Chen is from? When Xiang Tianshao heard Chun Hao's name, he thought for a moment. It was obvious that he had never heard of this name in his memory, which made him feel a little strange. How could he not know such a young monstrous genius with such combat strength and talent? I can barely be considered a disciple of Wuji Immortal Palace. After I leave here, I should be. Chun Hao said with a faint smile. Oh? There's such a thing? With Brother Chen's talent and combat strength, how can you only barely be considered a disciple? I don't like restrictions. I said this because my cultivation partners are all disciples of Wuji Immortal Palace. Chun Hao said. Amazing. I wonder what Brother Chen's cultivation partners are called? Maybe I know them. When I join Wuji Immortal Palace, you'll naturally know. We'll talk again if there's a chance. You'd better stay away from me so that you don't get into trouble, Chun Hao suddenly said through voice transmission. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and ignored Xiang Tianshao. Xiang Tianshao was slightly stunned. At that moment, ripples came from the teleportation door at the entrance of the hall, and figures suddenly appeared in front of everyone. What surprised everyone was that in a moment, 25 experts at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm and one at the peak of the initial stage of the manifestation realm entered. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 441. Why are people at the peak of the late-stage manifestation realm here? Why are there so many of them? Many people were puzzled. There were more than 500 cultivators present, and most of them were at the late-stage manifestation realm. The late-stage manifestation realm cultivators were older and did not have good talent. The 93rd Ancient Sect relic was only suitable for a small number of early-stage manifestation realm super geniuses, as well as ordinary mid-stage and late-stage manifestation realm experts. It was not challenging for those at the peak of the late-stage manifestation realm to train here. But when there was less than an hour before the relic opened, 24 people at the peak of the late-stage manifestation realm had come. Of course, everyone was surprised and unhappy. The area of the relic was small, and there were only a few ancient beasts, mechanisms, restrictions, and cultivation resources. If this was not seizing resources, then what was? When Soul Fighter and the others stepped into the hall, they all had arrogant expressions on their faces, as if they were superior people. Their gazes quickly swept across the crowd and quickly locked onto Chun Hao. They did not bother to hide the ridicule and provocation in their eyes. At this point, there was no turning back. In their eyes, Chun Hao was already a turtle in a jar, and there was no need to hide anything. Of course, this was not the time to provoke them. People from Limitless Demon Palace? Are they here for him? Xiang Tianxiao had already sat cross-legged beside Chun Hao. When Chun Hao stopped talking to him, he did not leave. He did not think that there was any trouble that could make him afraid. However, when he saw the 25 people who suddenly appeared, he was slightly surprised. From their gazes, he could tell that they were here for Chun Hao. What an arrogant guy! He knows that there are so many experts, and he still dares to come here. Could it be that he's not afraid of so many elites at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm? Xiang Tianxiao cast a subtle glance at Chun Hao, who had his eyes closed to rest, and he became even more curious. Junior brother, the guy beside that kid is Xiang Tianxiao from Limitless Immortal Palace. Xiang Tianxiao? Is he very powerful? He is indeed very powerful. 4 months ago, when Limitless Elite Academy was selecting disciples, I was lucky enough to get an entry ticket. And this Xiang Tianxiao, when he just entered the manifestation realm, he defeated countless geniuses at the peak of the early stage manifestation realm and entered the top 100 to become a disciple of Elite Academy. A disciple of the Elite Academy. When Soul Fighter Mo and the rest heard the words of this expert, who was at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation stage, they were instantly shocked. The Everlasting Elite Academy was established by all the top experts of the Boundless Continent and was managed by the Alliance. It was a gathering place for all the monstrous geniuses of the Central Continent, regardless of their factions or races. Only Creation Realm cultivators who were at least 28 years old had the right to participate in the selection. Every year, only 100 people were allowed to participate, but the number of cultivators who participated in the selection was in the hundreds of thousands. Once one became a disciple of the Elite Academy, one would receive the highest level of training in the Alliance and would also become the target of competition among the major powers in the Boundless Continent. Yeah, this Xiang Tianxiao is sitting together with that kid. Could it be that the two of them know each other? If Xiang Tianxiao interferes, then we'll be in trouble. Humph. What was there to be afraid of? Master has already submitted my information. Next year, I will definitely become a disciple of the Elite Academy. From the looks of it, they don't seem to be related. Let's not provoke him. If you want to stop us, then don't blame us for not giving you face. You don't have to worry about this. Alright then, everyone, ruin number 93 is about to open. Please get ready. After half an hour, an old man's voice rang out in the hall. The cultivators who were sitting cross-legged in the hall took a deep breath and stood up. The trial in ruin number 93 will last for 3 months. This ruin is a trial ground for the disciples of the ancient sections. When the time limit is reached, you will automatically step out. I hope that everyone will be able to reap great rewards. Please act according to your abilities. The most important thing is to come out alive. Please get ready. It will open now. Hiss, 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 hiss. The moment the old man finished speaking, rays of light suddenly shone from the ground of the hall and enveloped everyone. Some of the disciples who had entered in groups huddled together. Mo Wuching and the rest were no exception. However, they were divided into 6 groups. 4 of them were at the peak of the late stage of the creation realm. Soul Fighter was in a group with the strongest 4. Moreover, at this moment, their gazes were on Chun Hao and Xiang Tianxiao. When they saw that the 2 of them did not join forces, they heaved a sigh of relief. It was not that they were afraid of Xiang Tianxiao's strength. After all, although Xiang Tianxiao was a monster, he was only at the beginning stage of the creation realm. Compared to Chun Hao, who was an absolute monster, he was definitely not much stronger. However, his identity made Soul Fighter and the rest not dare to kill him. Every disciple of the elite academy was protected by the alliance. If Xiang Tianxiao helped Chun Hao, they would be in trouble. This was because the disciples of the elite academy received the highest level of protection from the alliance. Even if they were in the ruin and no information would be leaked, they would not dare to kill Xiang Tianxiao even if they were given 10 guts. The moment everyone disappeared, Chun Hao frowned slightly and looked at Xiang Tianxiao. Hee, brother Chen, I love to join in the fun. I was just watching, Xiang Tianxiao said telepathically. Sorry, brother Xiang. I don't want to be watched. Moreover, you don't have to get involved in this mess, Chun Hao said telepathically. At the same time, he cut off Xiang Tianxiao's mental lock. Chun Hao was clear that if Xiang Tianxiao's mental lock was activated, they would definitely be teleported to a nearby location. Although he could feel that this guy had no ill intentions and even had the intention to help him, Chun Hao still rejected him. Immediately, the cultivators in the hall disappeared at the same time. In a short moment, Chun Hao appeared in the ruin. Underground city? Chun Hao looked at the scene in front of him and said in surprise. For any ruin, every time it was opened, the scene one would encounter would not be the same. Ruin number 93 had been discovered for hundreds of years. According to the summary of the cultivators who had entered, there were a total of 36 scenes. There was no pattern to what kind of scene would appear every year. Very good. This maze is even more suitable for playing hide and seek. Chun Hao stared at the 2 dark tunnels that appeared in front of him. Under the torch-like light in the tunnel, he revealed a devilish smile. He spread out his powerful soul perception and stepped directly into the tunnel. The ancient beasts here are all treasures. Their tendons, bones, skin, horns, blood, and inner cores are all invaluable, especially to the cultivators of the demon Tao. Chun Hao said, according to the information, this ruin has existed for hundreds of thousands of years, but it's still operating normally. It's fine if the holy land of cultivation can be maintained as long as there's a formation that's powerful enough to condense a spiritual artifact of heaven and earth. However, the ancient beasts can also be killed endlessly. It's obvious that there's new replenishment every year. It's too powerful. Old God, how powerful is the mighty person who condensed this ancient sect ruin? I don't know how powerful he is, but don't think that no one is in control of ancient ruins. Basically, all ancient ruins are under the control of ancient mighty people. These people are either the top experts from the boundless land or the mighty people from more powerful planes. They take care of you from the boundless land, and a very small number of them are there to select disciples. However, only those ruins that require at least the celestial immortal realm to enter are possible. In short, as long as you enter the ruins, your situation will be known to the master of the ruins. Your current realm is too low, so it's useless to know this. Old God said, the blood essence of ancient beasts is quite good. You can collect more. Okay. Chun Hao extended his perception into the depths of the tunnel. The terrifying pressure and the thick aura of ancient beasts became stronger and stronger. Chun Hao's mind was in high alert as he carefully observed his surroundings. Since this ruin was a training ground of an ancient sect, there must be all kinds of dangers. No one dared to be careless. Chi. Break for me. Boom boom boom. Without any warning, 6 incomparably sharp attacks suddenly shot out from the top, bottom, left, right, front, and back of the tunnel. Even Chun Hao was shocked. However, his sharp senses and powerful reaction speed allowed him to throw out 6 punches in an instant. His body also twisted strangely, avoiding the destructive energy of the explosion at close range. Immediately after, 6 paths appeared, with only a few tenths of a second between them, causing Chun Hao to fall into a tense battle. 5 minutes later, phew! No wonder only those in Blessed Realm are allowed to enter. Even little Snow would be injured if she ran into the first stage. If one's reaction speed, attack power, and body movement are weak in any of these areas, they won't be able to pass. Of course, those with powerful physical bodies and monstrous defense are exceptions. But only those at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm can do that. Chen Hao relied on his powerful reaction speed, movement technique, and attacks that surpassed his own realm to pass through the first checkpoint without any injuries. However, it wasn't easy for him to do this. In just 5 minutes, his forehead was covered with sparkling and translucent beads of sweat. This wasn't because he was tired, but because he was so nervous that he broke out in a cold sweat. Damn, he's so strong. If I was alone, I would definitely be injured. At the same time, quite a number of cultivators who had formed a pair in another tunnel were shocked. Damn it, I heard that the underground city is the strongest training ground in Ruins number 93. It must be because of the 20 or so elites at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm who entered in the end. That should be the case. The training grounds in the ruins are closely related to the strength of the cultivators who enter. This is good, because it'll be more challenging for us. Let's go, we'll speed up and try to pass as soon as possible so that we can snatch a better Holy Land for cultivation. Alright. There are still 35 stages. Let's hurry. We can't let that brat get there first. Don't worry, junior brother Wuxin. What we need to worry about is whether that brat will succeed. No matter how monstrous he is, he's only half a step into Blessed Realm. That's right, he'll definitely die this time. If he doesn't succeed, he'll die. If he succeeds, he'll have to face us. It'll be fine as long as we don't let him snatch a Holy Land for cultivation. Of course, there are still a few stages later. If any of the 6 squads run into him, we'll be able to take him down. It'll be the safest. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 442. After he cleared the first stage, a tunnel appeared in front of Chen Hao. It was connected horizontally, and he could not see the end of the tunnel to his left and right. Right in front of him were countless tunnels that were as black as ink. Even with Chen Hao's extraordinary vision, he could not see anything. He could only see darkness. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Boom, 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 break. Hey! Right when Chen Hao appeared at the intersection and took a short break to adjust his breathing, the sounds of cultivators fighting and shouting came from both sides. Some of them were near and some of them were far away. Looks like I'm quite fast. I'll continue going deeper. Hiss. Chen Hao took a step forward and entered the closest dark tunnel. Sizzle. Sizzle. When Chen Hao stepped into the dark tunnel and moved 1,000 feet forward with his senses, faint sounds of air being torn suddenly came from behind and in front of him. Balls of dark blue light that looked like willow, the wisps were like dark blue water droplets that fell from the air. They were in groups of 2 and they slowly grew larger. Soon, there were 4 groups in front and behind him. The eyes of ancient beasts? How amazing! Even with my senses, I can't sense any ancient beast's auras. Boom! Chen Hao circulated his true origin in a frenzy. Roar bang! 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 8 huge beasts with eyes that looked like bronze bells shone with a dark blue light. They roared and charged at Chen Hao. At that moment, the terrifying ancient beast's auras spread out fearlessly, and the entire tunnel trembled violently. 8 of them at the middle stage of Blessed Realm. 4 of them at the front and back, and they want to surround and attack me? Charge! Bang! Boom! Chen Hao stomped on the ground, and a loud bang rose from beneath his feet. He charged at the 4 ancient beasts in front of him like a cannonball. At the same time, he swung his left hand and executed a dragon-subduing palm that was filled with extreme yang energy to stop the beasts behind him from getting closer. With his right hand, he raised his sword and charged forward. Open! Chen Hao's pupils constricted. His wrist streaked across the air, and in the blink of an eye, he sent out several sharp sword lights that illuminated the entire passage. The sword lights contained a mysterious and condensed power, and they seemed to attack the four monsters indiscriminately. However, when the sword lights approached the monsters, they suddenly merged into one and completely condensed on the body of a ferocious beast. Roar! Boom 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 boom, die! Chi! At this moment, Chen Hao raised his speed to the peak. With a terrifying speed, he became one with his sword and rushed towards the beast that he was focusing his firepower on. Puff! A dull explosive sound burst out from the middle of the beast's blue eyes that were as bright as lamps. Chen Hao had already broken through the encirclement of the beast. At this moment, as long as Chen Hao rushed forward without stopping, he would have passed this hurdle. However, Chen Hao did not do that. Instead, he turned around and brandished his sword. With a posture of one man holding back 10,000 men, he blasted out sword after sword. His body bloomed with mysterious light, and he quickly dodged the attacks of the beasts within a small range. 5 minutes later, the ferocious ancient beasts were killed by Chen Hao one by one. The strength of these ancient beasts is only 20% stronger than the same level of extraterrestrial monsters, but their value is much higher. Hiss hiss hiss. Chen Hao sent out waves of energy and directly collected the 8 beasts into his mind. If someone saw this scene, they would definitely be astonished. After all, even though the ancient ferocious beasts were full of treasures, their huge bodies still took up the most space. A single one of them was 30 feet tall and 30 feet thick. No one would directly collect them because that would be too much of a waste of space. Moreover, the blood and other materials needed to be processed in time to preserve their effect. However, Chen Hao collected them all in one go. There was no other way. After he merged with the old god this time, the space in his mind had increased by 10 times. The space that was originally filled with the spirit spring and the stones in the origin space now occupied less than 1/10 of the space. 8 huge beasts would not be obvious even if they were thrown in. As for the processing of the materials, it was naturally left to the 5 divine beasts who could transform into clones. Haha, quickly process it. With the blood of these ancient beasts, our physical bodies can be strengthened a lot. I was right? We can now double the entrance fee of 5 million upper-grade primordial crystal stones. This is the value of the blood alone. When Chen Hao walked out of the passage, another horizontal passage appeared in front of him. Not far away, the cultivators' excited voices could be heard. Clearly, their killing speed was faster than Chen Hao's. As long as a cultivator soaks in the blood of the ancient beasts, their physical bodies will be able to absorb the essence in it and transform and strengthen. Not only are there no side effects, but there is also a possibility of awakening the power of the ancient bloodline. If we are lucky enough to awaken it, we will make a fortune. Yes, but the probability is too low. It is better to sell it to the cultivators of the demon clan. These will be more effective for them. The cultivators of the demon clan can directly swallow the inner core of the ancient beasts, and it is possible to obtain the power of inheritance. Why sell it? We are not short of money. As long as it can increase our strength, we will use it ourselves. Listening to the discussion from afar, Chen Hao adjusted his breathing for a moment and began to break through the levels again. Of the 36 levels, Chen Hao relied on his abnormal recovery ability to break through 12 in one go. Finally, he did not dare to continue. I only have 30% of my primordial crystal stones left. If those guys were not here, I could continue, but now I have to be careful. Chen Hao shrank into the passage, set up a simple miniature array, and directly entered a state of cultivation to recover. This was the flaw of being a lone wolf. Without teammates in this sort of situation, he had to be careful even when recovering. Chen Hao's speed in breaking through the levels was not slow, but when he sensed the cultivators at every intersection, He understood that his speed was only about the same as that of a normal team. As for Soul Fighter's team, they were definitely much faster than him. After all, aside from Soul Fighter, they were all elites at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realm. There was basically no challenge for such elites in the ruins. Their speed in breaking through the levels would definitely be like a hot knife cutting through butter. Where are you? Soul Fighter and the 5 elites appeared at the intersection at the same time. When they saw that the next level had turned into a hall that stretched as far as the eye could see, Soul Fighter sent a message through a communication talisman. In the ruins, the aura of the ruins blocked the Protector's communication devices and spirit channeling mirrors. Not only were they unable to contact the outside world, they were also unable to communicate with each other. This was because the Protector's communication devices and spirit channeling mirrors needed the support of the mysterious array that the Alliance had set up in the entire Middle Continent. It was just like the cell phone signal on Earth. There was no signal in the ruins. The only thing they could rely on was the communication talisman that allowed them to communicate with each other. We're about to reach the 14th level. The other 5 teams quickly sent messages to them. The 14th level is a test of the gravitational field and mighty pressure. All the cultivators will be in the same hall. 5th and 6th teams stay behind. Once you enter, slow down. If the brat is not too far away, then if you are confident, take him down. Don't wait for too long. If you don't find him in 2 hours, then quickly break through the level. All right. The 14th level might be in the same hall, but it was a ring-shaped space that surrounded the entire underground city. No one could be certain where Chun Hao would appear. Besides, under the dual effects of the gravitational field and mighty pressure, if they were slightly further away, they would need to spend a lot of time to get close to Chun Hao. They could only rely on their luck. With our speed, we might not be able to wait for the brat in 2 hours. He's just one person, so he must have used up a lot of energy. It'll be good if he can reach the 8th level. Besides, he might be cultivating to recover, one of the cultivators in 6th team said. Not necessarily. You don't know how great the brat's endurance and tenacity are. It's hard to say if he's rested or not. Junior Brother Wuxin's 2 hours are quite reliable. Another cultivator said. This cultivator was the one who had almost been killed by Chun Hao. TCH, I think you're traumatized by the brat. He's just half a step into Blessed Realm. How could he be as terrifying as you say? Traumatized? You can say that. When you see how powerful he is, you'll understand whether I'm telling the truth. Break. Boom. A powerful sealed door exploded with a bang. Xiang Tianxiao, who was at the peak of the initial stage of Blessed Realm, easily passed through the 13th level without even using a weapon. And he only used one attack. What great power! It's Xiang Tianxiao. 6th team waited for 15 minutes at a spot that was a little closer to the entrance of the 14th level. Then, without any warning, a loud bang erupted from the blocked tunnel not far away. Debris flew into the air, and they saw Xiang Tianxiao's figure. He actually broke through with one attack. We attacked for 3 minutes before we broke through. The 4 elites of 6th team were shocked. And he cleared the level so quickly alone, Gravity and pressure test? Xiang Tianxiao looked through the door in front of him. Once he saw the incredibly large space, he quickly looked around. As expected, he's waiting. The chances of running into him in such a large space are very small, right? Thank goodness it's me. If Chun Hao ran into him, those guys would be so smug, Xiang Tianxiao thought. I should recover and see if there's a good show. Xiang Tianxiao stepped into the hall and went a little further in. He sat down cross-legged at the edge of the gravity field and the pressure. As he recovered, he sensed the situation around him. Attack and endurance test? In a short 15 minutes, Chun Hao recovered to his peak condition with the help of the spirit spring refined by the old god. He went straight to the 13th level, and no traps or ancient beasts appeared even when he reached the end of the tunnel. Once he saw the blocked tunnel in front of him, he understood what the test was. The thing blocking the tunnel was an icy blue crystal in the shape of a human skeleton. A profound presence enveloped the human-shaped crystal. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 443. Bang. He struck with his palm, and the human-shaped skeleton crystal trembled violently. Chen Hao's body also swayed. As expected, the stronger my attack is, the stronger the rebound will be. If my attack is unable to reach the limit of what this crystal skeleton can withstand, it will take a long time to destroy it bit by bit. If my attack exceeds the limit, it will shatter. This thing is not bad, but it's a pity that I can't take it away. Break. Bang. Boom. Chen Hao struck with his palm, and the human-shaped skeleton instantly exploded. Chen Hao's body only swayed a little before he stepped out of the tunnel. When he saw the boundless hall in the 14th stage, Chen Hao's eyes immediately shone brightly. Are you waiting for me? It's that brat. The instant Chen Hao stepped into the test hall for both gravity and mighty pressure, Chen Hao and the four elites at the peak of the later stage of Blessed Realms saw each other almost at the same time, even though they were 10,000 feet apart. Ha ha! What good luck! Want to run? Die. Chi. 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 At that moment, the four people instantly charged at Chen Hao excitedly and attacked at the same time. It was only 10,000 feet away, and with their strength, they could close the distance in an instant. Furthermore, the 10,000 feet area was also within their attack range. Bang! Bang! Two fierce rays of light shone in Chen Hao's eyes. He stepped into the area enveloped by the gravity field and pressure. He ignored the attacks from the four people who were 10,000 feet away and left them behind with his lightning-fast speed. Your speed is not bad, but it's not enough. If you obediently let yourself be captured, maybe junior brother Wu Xian will give you a slightly better way to die. Luck. Hiss. Hiss. When the four people attacked from the distance, they were already several thousand feet away. Their strength at the peak of late-stage Blessed Realm did not affect them much at the edge of the area. When they saw that Chen Hao easily avoided their attacks, they were not surprised. At that moment, they worked together and sent out four gigantic hands that reached the sky. They charged at Chen Hao with a howl. With just the four of you? Chi. Chen Hao's speed was already very fast, and the moment the four hands arrived, his speed doubled as he charged into the depth. At this moment, the four of them frowned slightly. They thought that Chen Hao must have used his maximum speed in his panic. They didn't expect him to double his speed. Even if they could control the giant hand, they wouldn't be able to lock on to Chen Hao. Let's catch up to him first. It seems that this brat is indeed difficult to deal with. It's not possible to take him down from a distance, the leader ordered. With one fleeing, the other four gave chase. They were all as fast as lightning. As they went deeper, the gravitational field and pressure became stronger and stronger. The five of them also felt more and more restricted. However, seeing that they were getting closer and closer to Chen Hao, the four of them gradually became excited. But every time Chen Hao reached a distance of 1,500 feet, it was as if he had broken through his limit. He suddenly accelerated again, causing the distance between them to close at an extremely slow speed. 600 times the gravity field, but this kid can still maintain his speed in just 3 minutes. The terrifying pressure and gravity field made it difficult for the four of them. However, Chen Hao's half-step manifestation speed did not slow down in the slightest. This made the four of them look a little embarrassed. If this continued, Chen Hao would probably rush out of the checkpoint in less than 10 minutes. Fortunately, in less than a minute, Chen Hao seemed to be struggling, and his speed had clearly decreased by a lot. Haha. It's already very shocking for a half-step to manifestation to have such speed, but you're still a half-step to manifestation. Hiss 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 hiss. The four of them pushed their speed to the limit in one go and closed in on Chen Hao as fast as lightning. 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet, 2,000 feet. Just when the four of them felt that they could definitely capture Meng Chao and were about to attack, "Get lost!" A cold shout suddenly burst out of Chen Hao's mouth. He was charging forward as if he was running for his life, but he didn't even turn his head. He swung his sword and spun behind him. Chi! A sword light that was like a waterfall seemed to tear through the air. It was extremely fast and condensed, causing the four experts at the peak of the late stage of the blessed realm to feel their hair stand on end. They launched their own attacks in a frenzy. Boom! Boom! This brat is indeed troublesome. Don't underestimate him. We can't capture him alive. Kill him! The four of them launched four attacks at the same time and cancelled out Chen Hao's sword light. While they were shocked, they were also furious. Their expressions turned solemn, and in the blink of an eye, they surrounded Chen Hao from four directions. Their fighting spirit and energy rose madly. Split! Hiss! Hiss! In the blink of an eye, Chen Hao split into four. Four figures, four sword lights, and all of them became one with their swords. What was even more shocking was that each of the clones shone with a dazzling light. The red light was like fire, the blue light was like ice, the gold light was like the scorching sun, and the green light was like jade. The four different colors of light illuminated a circular area of 10,000 feet, causing the four-peak late-stage manifestation realm experts to feel their hearts tremble at that moment. Fast. No one could describe how fast the four clones attacked when they became one with their sword. At the very least, the four people could clearly feel the threat of death looming over them. Of course, the most important thing was that Chen Hao had spent a month and a half to create a middle-grade spiritual treasure set for the doppelgangers condensed from the 5 divine beasts and the 5 elements sword. With Old God's guidance on the formation, what kind of power would it have? It would definitely be much more powerful than a single upper-grade spiritual treasure. However, the more powerful a spiritual treasure was, the more energy it would consume to activate it. Without stopping for too long, Chen Hao immediately began to break through the stages. The gravity field and pressure here posed no pressure to the abnormal Chen Hao at all. It could be said that it was the easiest stage. He continued to break through the stages. Damn it, we waited for 2 hours in vain. It seems that he is quite far from us, or he hasn't reached this stage yet. Let's report to junior brother Wuxin. After waiting for 2 hours, the 4 experts in the 6th group still did not see Chen Hao, so they could only choose to give up. Xiang Tianxiaobai, who was sitting cross-legged not far away, also waited for 2 hours, but did not see anything interesting. When the 4 people began to break through the stages, he did not stay any longer. 5th group, what's the situation on your side? At the 23rd stage, Sol Wuxin received the report from the 6th group, but did not receive the report from the 5th group. He crushed the communication talisman and asked. Buzz, soon, the communication talisman vibrated. Sol Wuxin hurriedly read it. But then what? Sol Wuxin was so shocked that he almost jumped up and exclaimed. They are all dead. It will be your turn soon. Chen Hao's cold voice reverberated in Sol Wuxin's mind. Junior brother, what's wrong? The 4 experts immediately looked at Sol Wuxin and asked. How is it possible? How is it possible? Junior brother. Dead, the 4 people in the 5th group are all dead? They were all killed by that kid. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. I already explained that the kid is very strong, so the 4 of them had to work together. How could they all be killed? How could they not even notify me? Sol Wuxin's expression was extremely ugly and pale. He was obviously frightened by Chen Hao's cold voice and the results. Meanwhile, the other 4 experts also revealed shocked expressions. Although these 4 experts were the strongest among the team of 24, they weren't much stronger than the 4 experts from Group 5. And Chen Hao, who was only half-step to the manifestation realm, could actually kill the fifth group without even notifying them. What did this mean? A chill shrouded the hearts of the 5 people, and they broke out in a cold sweat. Don't be scared out of your wits by me. That won't be fun. Chen Hao, who was advancing rapidly under the gravitational field and pressure, frowned slightly as he thought to himself, full of evil charm. The communication talisman had sent a message. Whether he replied or not, the other party would know. Therefore, he might as well not hide anymore. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Junior brother Wuxin, that kid has already reached a level where we can't contend against him. This kind of person is definitely not someone we can kill. Listening to their conversation, Soul Fighter's expression turned extremely ugly. But now, even if he didn't want to admit it, he had to. In front of Chen Hao, he was nothing. Endless anger and also endless regret. If he had known this would happen, why would he have wanted to kill Chen Hao? Even the first time they clashed, it was actually just a sparring session. His men's deaths had nothing to do with Chen Hao. They had all died at the hands of monsters. If he had given up at that time, things would not have turned out this way. Unfortunately, he had twisted the truth and told Fan Suixin that Chen Hao had killed 17 of his junior brothers and sisters. Moreover, he had started a hunt for Chen Hao. I never thought that I, Soul Fighter, would be forced into such a corner. Moreover, it's someone whose level is lower than mine. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Who do they think they are? They're all trash, just trash. If I can reach the peak of the advanced stage of the Blessed Realm, that kid won't be able to be so arrogant. I have to reach the next level at all costs. Only by killing that kid can I get rid of all the hidden dangers. This is the only way. This is the only way. Soul Fighter seemed to have entered a state of madness. Junior brother Wuxin. I understand. You're all afraid. I'm also afraid. Haha. I'm afraid. Let's do as you say. Senior brother Huang, you inform them. Soul Fighter, who seemed to have gone mad, quickly calmed down. His words were self-deprecating and dispirited, but his eyes shone with determination and madness. He knew very well that in the cruel world of cultivation, no one would be merciful. If you wanted to kill someone, you had to be prepared to be killed. Even if he gave up now, how could Chen Hao let him go? He was the instigator, so he had to bear the brunt of Chen Hao's pursuit and revenge. Since he had already done it, there was no turning back. He could only move forward. Where are you all now? The disciple known as Senior Brother Huang took the communication talisman from Soul Fighter and sent a message to the other 4 teams. 34, 33, 35, 28. The 4 teams sent back messages one after another. The team at the 28th stage was the 6th team that had been waiting for Chen Hao for 2 hours. Everyone, don't go out after the 36th stage. Tell me first and wait for my signal before we go out together. That's the safest way. Remember to conceal your presence. Okay. After rushing out of the 36th stage, Chen Hao's powerful soul perception spread out. Now it was time for him to kill. In this ruin, the communication talisman couldn't be located at all. In other words, it was impossible for the teams to meet up now. This was also Chen Hao's only chance to kill them. Once they met up, Chen Hao wasn't as strong as they thought. However, at this moment, when Chen Hao released his senses, a look of surprise appeared on his face as he looked straight ahead. Hiss, a mysterious wave of energy, accompanied by a pressure that made Chen Hao feel a little shocked, condensed in the air in front of him in a radius of 30 meters. What surprised Chen Hao even more was that at this moment, the surrounding scenery changed, making him clearly feel that his essence, spirit, soul, and inner yuan were all locked in an instant. Such a terrifying feeling, ever since Chen Hao received the secular sword principal inheritance in the Sky City, He had never experienced it again. What's going on? At this moment, Chern Hao's mind suddenly ran to the limit, and all the hair on his body stood on end. The mysterious wave in front of him was like a green smoke, shuttling through the void and slowly condensing into a shape. In an instant, an old man with an imposing appearance and the demeanor of a transcendent being appeared before Chern Hao. "Little guy, don't be nervous." His appearance was shocking and terrifying. Just his aura alone could kill Chern Hao, but what Chern Hao didn't expect was that, after the old man's figure condensed into a shape, all the pressure disappeared in an instant. How was this a top expert? He was clearly an ordinary old man, so ordinary that he couldn't be any more ordinary. With Chern Hao's powerful soul perception, he couldn't sense any cultivation of this old man. Except for a little white hair and a ruddy complexion, his eyes were calm and there was no sharpness to speak of. Where was the aura of an expert? Chern Hao didn't know that the moment the old man appeared, Old God had shrunk into the depths of Chern Hao's mind and sealed the entire space of Chern Hao's mind, not daring to reveal a trace of aura. "Senior, you are?" Chern Hao quickly calmed down from the shock and asked respectfully with cupped fists. "Old man is the owner of this relic." The old man looked at Chern Hao calmly and said, "I've condensed this relic for 10,000 years. 10,000 years? Didn't the information say that it's hundreds of thousands of years?" Chern Hao was puzzled, but he didn't ask. "Haha, your records estimate the time of the relic's existence based on the aura of the relic. In fact, it's just that the materials I used to condense this relic are relatively old. On the Wuji star, it's impossible to have a relic that can exist for hundreds of thousands of years. Why would someone with that kind of magical power be interested in a small planet like the Wuji star?" Well, this is a trace of the old man's divine thought. You're the first person in 10,000 years to break the record of the 36 checkpoints set by the old man. Once someone breaks the record, the old man will appear. But I didn't expect you to rely on a spiritual treasure. Hearing the old man's words, Chern Hao scratched his head awkwardly. "Haha, don't be embarrassed. If you relied solely on a spiritual treasure, the old man might have killed you. You have to know, the old man spent a lot of effort to improve you. But you wasted the old man's effort in pursuit of speed. It's really disrespectful to the old man. There's a reason for this. Why don't you let me go through the trial again, old man? It won't be much slower." Chern Hao didn't feel the old man's malice, so he relaxed and said hurriedly, "There's no need." What the old man didn't expect was that you're only at the half-step to creation realm. This can be considered heaven's will. Next, the old man will open the highest level of cultivation, Holy Land, in the remains for you. It's also the only time. Whether you can comprehend it or not will depend on your luck. "Thank you, Senior." Chern Hao showed enough excitement and respect as he cupped his fists and bowed. "What's your name?" "Chern Hao, Chern Hao, go. I hope to see you again." Chi. As the old man spoke, he didn't give Chern Hao time to think, ask, or do anything. The old man disappeared and turned into a mysterious light that surrounded Chern Hao. In the blink of an eye, Chern Hao felt his thoughts stop for a moment before he regained consciousness. "I haven't dealt with those guys yet." Chern Hao wanted to say something, but it was too late. What kind of cultivation Holy Land is this? Gravity field? And it's so small? When Chern Hao saw the space in front of him, he frowned slightly and was extremely disappointed. When he heard the old man say that this was the most powerful Holy Land for cultivators in the remains, he was rather excited. No matter what, the spirit chi of heaven and earth should be unbelievably dense, right? It should be filled with all kinds of profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth, right? Or it should be filled with countless spirit objects of heaven and earth, precious mineral veins, or even awesome ultimate technique. But now, this space was only 100 meters long and wide, and one could see through it with a single glance. The four walls, the ground, and the ceiling were all covered with mysterious runes that were similar to a gravitational field. In the middle stood a stone tablet that was less than 10 feet tall, covered with tiny words. Other than that, there was nothing else. The spirit chi of heaven and earth was no different from outside. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 445. Chen Hao's gaze locked onto the densely packed inscriptions, and his brows gradually furrowed. I don't recognize these words at all. The inscriptions were strangely shaped, like tadpoles, but they weren't tadpole characters. Chen Hao didn't recognize them at all. However, just as his mind came into contact with the inscriptions, these densely packed little golden words suddenly came to life, and turned into rays of golden light, shooting straight towards the space between Chen Hao's eyebrows. Boom! Within 100-meter radius of space, a mysterious power suddenly emerged, and enveloped Chen Hao's body. Ah! Bang! Chen Hao, who clearly didn't release any power, suddenly shot up like lightning, and simply couldn't react in time, and became a mess in the wind, like rootless duckweed or like a fallen leaf in a whirlwind, scurrying about in the small space. Position. But it wasn't a gravitational field. It was a kind of position that changed 1,000 times in an instant, without any pattern or direction to speak of. Art of 1,000 transformations. 5 large golden words appeared in Chen Hao's mind. Immediately, the densely packed tadpole characters turned into a voice that Chen Hao was familiar with, and the essence of the art of 1,000 transformations resounded in his mind. This is the space condensed by the art of 1,000 transformations. Once you step into this room, as time passes, the force will become stronger and stronger. Don't try to break open the secret room. Once you do, the entire space will explode, and even if you are a worldly immortal, your body and soul will be destroyed. This is the art of 1,000 transformations and its mysteries. As long as you can successfully comprehend and cultivate it, the secret room will automatically disappear. The time limit is 1 year, and it will be activated for 11.5 hours every day. 1 hour is your time to rest and recover. If you can't comprehend it within a year, the secret room will explode, and you will die here. Kid, work hard. Chen Hao wanted to stop his body, but no matter what, he couldn't do it. Because of the chaotic position, when Chen Hao thought that he had enough strength to resist the pulling force suddenly disappeared, and that feeling was like all his strength had hit empty air. It was always like this, everywhere. Fuck, Chen Hao cursed. The information in the ruins was very clear. It was only 3 months. How did it become a year? Could it be that he had attracted the attention of the master of the ancient domain? However, Chen Hao knew that it was impossible to ask the owner of the ruins. This was because everything here had been left behind by the owner of the ruin in advance. Only what he had just seen was the owner of the ruin's spiritual sense. But Chen Hao only had 4 months. He made an appointment with Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian to return to the eastern continent in 4 months. The 3-year period that he had agreed upon with the sect was about to arrive. How could Chen Hao not be anxious? Especially after he had roughly looked through the mental cultivation method of the 1,000 transformations in his mind. He didn't feel anything at all. This also meant that if he wanted to comprehend it, it would definitely be extremely difficult. No matter how high his perception was, he couldn't be sure that he could comprehend it in 4 months. Moreover, the ruins would only be open for 3 months. Even if he could comprehend it in 4 months, if the entrance of the ruins wasn't open at that time, he wouldn't be able to leave. Damn, who would want this kind of cultivation method? The thing that I, your father, don't want the least is cultivation method. 3,000 great Taoists are in your father's mind. Is there anything more awesome than this? What should I do? For the first time, Chen Hao was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. He wasn't afraid that he would be blown to smithereens if he couldn't comprehend it in a year, but he was afraid that if he couldn't meet the 4 girls in 4 months, what would they think? Especially, that old guy didn't even give him a chance to catch his breath. He directly activated the 1,000 transformations space, making him like a headless fly, unable to stop at all. The swaying made him dizzy and nauseous. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. At this point, there's no way out. 3 months, I must successfully cultivate it in 3 months. Hiss hiss hiss, although the 3,000 great daos are powerful, with my current strength, I can only cultivate some superficial knowledge. The great 5 elements art, until now, I can only cultivate the platinum sky splitting slash. This 1,000 transformations profound art is definitely a powerful cultivation method. Yes, a very powerful cultivation method. This is a good thing, isn't it? I should be happy, I should have a strong interest in it. Chen Hao hypnotized himself in his heart. Comprehend. Comprehend. I need to comprehend it in the shortest time possible. If I succeed in cultivating it, this will be my domain. Anyone who fights with me, as long as their absolute power doesn't exceed mine by too much, will fall into my control. Under self-hypnosis, Chen Hao's gloomy feelings were quickly swept away. And indeed, the more he thought about it, the more he realized that this kind of cultivation method had endless uses. This was a kind of mysterious power. It was driven by true essence, but the force used wasn't true essence. In front of the enemy, it couldn't be broken by true essence, unless the absolute power was too strong and exceeded the range of profound energy's control. Otherwise, once the profound energy field that could change according to one's will was condensed around the body, it could display endless uses. Just think about it. Just when you think you have enough speed, there is a sudden pulling force in the opposite direction, slowing you down. Or there is a sudden pushing force that makes you speed up. Or there is a lateral force that makes you change your direction. Wait, what does that mean? It meant that when you were dodging the attack, you couldn't be in position, you couldn't find the point of attack, and the best position to display your strength would be deviated. A difference of a few millimeters would lead to a difference of 1,000 miles. This was definitely the best way to win by surprise, and it could be a trump card. Huff Chen Hao took a deep breath, threw away all distracting thoughts, and allowed himself to drift and pull in the ever-changing profound energy field. His mind was completely integrated into the 1,000 transformations profound energy art's mental cultivation method, reciting and comprehending over and over again. It was cryptic and difficult to understand, and the owner of the remains didn't give any explanation. He could only rely on his own comprehension. However, what made Chen Hao feel slightly relieved was that this mental cultivation method's incantation, compared to the main outline of the Great Way, was not at the same level. When he calmed down and started to comprehend, he quickly had a feeling. Even though he only comprehended a little, but this had an extraordinary significance. At least he had taken the first step, and that was to be able to comprehend. Moreover, when Chen Hao comprehended a little, he clearly felt a subtle connection with the profound energy field in the room, as if they complemented each other. The profound energy field, through the control of Chen Hao's body, helped him to comprehend. Luckily, we didn't meet that brat. Everyone is safe. Junior, I think we should forget about this matter for the time being. With Junior's talent, at least you'll have a chance to raise your level in the future. We really can't do anything. Moreover, Junior will definitely be able to enter the elite academy next year. At that time, we'll pay a price and get to know a few real demonic characters. It shouldn't be a difficult thing to get rid of this brat. Soul Fighter's face was gloomy. When senior brother Huang spoke, he despised him and did not want to bother with him. However, the last sentence made Soul Fighter's eyes light up. Good idea. Why didn't I think of this? With my training speed, although there is hope that I can reach the peak of the late manifestation realm before he triggers the divine punishment to advance to the manifestation realm, the chances are not high. How long one can be stuck at the half-step manifestation realm varies from person to person. Whoever was faster would choose the more advanced and powerful palace. Those who were slower would not even be able to choose a palace and could only stay at the edge of the training ground for 3 months. Moreover, the palaces here were the same as in the city in the sky. Once someone entered, others could forget about entering, unless they had the other party's permission. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 446. Using true essence as the foundation, using the mind as the guide, condense the profound energy diagram into one's own body, and derive the profound energy field. There are a total of 1,000 profound energy diagrams, and it is called the 1,000 Transformation Profound Energy Art. This diagram is not in the mental cultivation method, but exists in the space of this profound energy field. If I want to completely comprehend it, I must combine the mental cultivation method with the surrounding profound energy field. Come, I want to see how mystical and profound you are. 6 hours. Chun Hao was immersed in the state of comprehension, but after 6 hours, he was unable to comprehend any further, as if he had encountered a barrier. After pondering for a moment, he finally found the crux of the matter. If he wanted to completely comprehend the mental cultivation method of the profound energy art, he must use the surrounding profound energy field as a reference, and find the diagram that corresponded to the mental cultivation method's mnemonic from the ever-changing profound energy diagrams. If he did not comprehend a diagram, he would be able to further comprehend the next sentence of the mental cultivation method's mnemonic, as well as the diagram that corresponded to the next sentence. In other words, Chun Hao must control the 1,000 diagrams one by one, step by step, and finally cultivate the 1,000 transformation profound energy art. Chun Hao, who had originally given up on struggling, took the initiative to provoke at this moment, and sent out a stream of energy, wanting to control his own body. Hiss, 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 in an instant, the profound energy field fiercely acted on his body. Amazing! This profound energy field is still in a state where it automatically circulates without control, and it's already so mystical. If I succeed in cultivating it, I can move it as I wish, and it can change and combine as I wish. Phew! Luckily it circulates in order, or else it would be 100 or 1,000 times harder to capture the diagram that corresponds to the mental cultivation method's mnemonic that I just comprehended. The faster Chun Hao changed the energy of his true essence, the faster the changes in the profound energy field. In an instant, Chun Hao was being controlled and thrown around like a toy, battered and exhausted. But Chun Hao did not stop, and his mind was highly concentrated, sensing any minute changes in the profound energy field. Unfortunately, it was always half a beat slower. However, Chun Hao was not discouraged in the slightest. The frequency at which he urged the energy to change it became faster and faster. Time passed by minute, and soon it was 11 hours. The profound energy field disappeared into thin air, and Chun Hao fell to the ground like a dead pig with a bang. Motherf ***. Chun Hao, who was dizzy from the fall, suddenly sprung up and cursed gloomily. If I can't even comprehend the first diagram in a day, how long will it take to comprehend 1,000 diagrams? And it was getting more and more complicated? The more I comprehend, the faster my speed will increase. But there are 1,000 of them, let alone 3 months, even if I were to comprehend them within a year. Just when Chun Hao felt that the chances of comprehending 1,000 diagrams within a year wasn't very high, the space that had lost the profound energy field suddenly poured out rays of resplendent golden light, enveloping Chun Hao's body. On the walls of the entire space, golden words and the corresponding diagrams appeared. At the same time, under the envelopment of the golden light, Chun Hao clearly felt that there was no need for him to cultivate to recover. The consumed true essence, energy, and spirit began to quickly recover on their own. The flickering diagrams and words on the walls slowly evolved in his eyes, deeply sucking in Chun Hao's gaze. It also allowed Chun Hao to regain his confidence. 3 months was not enough, but 1 year should be enough to comprehend and master the 1,000 transformation profound energy art. As for the matter of returning to the eastern continent after 4 months, he could only do his best. As for the problem they were worried about, Chun Hao could not do anything about it. Things happened so suddenly, who could have predicted it? I hope the 2 senior immortals have a way to find out about my situation. 4. Another 4. Trash, a bunch of trash. No. That's not right. Could it be that Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall sent experts to help? No matter how strong that kid is, it's impossible for him to kill 4 people in an instant. Moreover, they were all experts at the peak of the late-stage blessed realm. In the main hall of Heartbreak Hall in Limitless Demon Palace, Fan Suixin had been paying attention to the movements of Soul Fighter and the others. However, early in the morning, he received news from the Hall of Longevity that the longevity tablets of 4 of Soul Fighter's disciples had shattered at the same time. This news made him unable to restrain his anger. Are you sure they shattered at the same time? Yes, Hall Master. I've been paying attention to the longevity tablets at all times, and I dare not slack off. The 4 of them did die at the same time. Inform the Information Hall to immediately investigate the whereabouts of Soul Fighter and the others. No blessed realm expert from Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall can kill the 4 of them in an instant. Even if there are many of them, there should be a sequence. If they sent a deity expert, don't blame me for reporting this to the Union's law enforcement team. Yes, Hall Master. In Fan Suixin's opinion, only a deity expert could kill the 4 peak late-stage Blessed Realm experts in an instant. Even the Demon Venerables could not be activated in time. Whether or not the Demon Venerables could be activated was closely related to the cultivator's state of mind. Under normal circumstances, the cultivator would not be able to react in time. In other words, those who were killed by a sneak attack either did not realize the danger at all, or only realized the danger at the moment of death, but it was already too late. Apart from these, the Demon Venerables would be activated automatically as long as there was a battle and under difficult circumstances. However, none of the 4 had died after activating the Demon Venerable's will. Apart from a deity expert, Fan Suixin did not think that a Blessed Realm expert could do it, let alone a half-step to the Blessed Realm expert like Chun Hao. If they dared to violate the Union's laws, even Immortal Venerable Han Mei and Immortal Venerable Yunwei would not be able to escape punishment, and the consequences would be unimaginable. Otherwise, Fan Suixin would have killed Chun Hao long ago. Would Chun Hao still be alive? Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall of Limitless Immortal Palace. 3 days after Chun Hao and the others stepped into ruin number 93, the 2 Immortal Venerables heaved a long sigh of relief in their respective halls. We'll see in 3 months. This kid is really bold. He knows he's being targeted, but he still dares to enter the ruin. We made a mistake this time. I didn't expect Fan Suixin to be so ruthless. Not only did he give him the God's Eye, but he also sent out 24 people at the peak of the late-stage Blessed Realm. Immortal Venerable Han Mei and Immortal Venerable Yunwei had the same thought in their respective halls. Ruin number 93 was the training ground that they had pointed out to Chun Hao. Originally, they thought that it would be easy for Chun Hao to escape from Soul Fighter and the others' sight, given his realm of being one with everything in the world. However, they did not expect Soul Fighter to have the God's Eye and 24 people at the peak of the late-stage Blessed Realm. The 2 of them were now more concerned about Chun Hao than all the other personal disciples. How could they not pay attention to Chun Hao's situation? It was just that they wouldn't interfere. The growth of a true monstrous genius could only be stimulated by experiencing hardships and dangerous situations that ordinary people did not have. Now, more than 3 days had passed, and the longevity tablet that they had secretly refined for Chern Hao was safe and sound. This meant that Chern Hao must have entered the sacred cultivation ground of the palace in the ruin. At least before he came out of the ruin, he would not be in any danger. His 362 success. The moment the dark energy field disappeared, Chern Hao was still thrown to the ground in a sorry state, but his dark eyes shone with a trace of surprise. It's faster than I expected, but it's still not enough. Although the speed of comprehension is getting faster, the array diagrams are getting more and more complicated. Tomorrow is the 3rd day after the surprise. Chern Hao shook his head helplessly and threw away all kinds of distracting thoughts. His gaze once again merged with the array diagrams that appeared on the wall. He had tried his best. In these 3 months, he did not stop for a moment, nor could he stop. He cultivated and comprehended madly, but until now, he had only comprehended 362 array diagrams. If he wanted to completely comprehend them, he would need at least a few more months, and that was under the condition that nothing unexpected happened. It's been 3 months. I've finally broken through to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. My battle power has increased by at least 3 times, but in another palace, Soul Fighter woke up from his cultivation state. His eyes shone with a trace of excitement, but when he thought of the monstrous Chern Hao, he was filled with despair. So what if his battle power increased by 3 times? He was still not Chern Hao's match. In these 3 months, his cultivation could be described as crazy. Apart from meditating and comprehending, he had the 4 experts at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm as his sparring partners. He was already able to fight evenly with any one of them. However, he knew that this was not a life-and-death battle. If it was, he would not be a match for any of the 4 people. After all, the 4 of them were first-class geniuses in Broken Heart Hall. Junior brother Wuxin, it's almost time to go out. After we go out, we will leave immediately. We won't be entangled with that kid for the time being. Alright. That's what I meant. Bear with it for now. With junior brother Wuxin's talent, before he steps into the deity stage, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Not long after, a series of mysterious lights appeared out of thin air. Soul Fighter, Xiang Tian Shao, and all the other disciples who had entered the ruins and didn't die in the trial turned into a stream of light and disappeared from the ruins. At the same time, there was a violent spatial fluctuation in the hall where Chern Hao and the others had entered. Figures appeared one after another. Ha ha! I've reached the late stage. The ruins in number 93 are so powerful. This is awesome. I've also advanced. Damn it, I almost lost my life. I was cursing those experts back then, but now I have to thank them. If it weren't for them, the ruins wouldn't be so powerful. As expected, you reap what you sow, haha. Some people were excited while others were worried. They were excited because their cultivation had increased, while others were worried because their companions had died. Congratulations to all of you for successfully stepping out of the ruins. Everyone, please take out your guardian tokens. The Alliance needs to do a simple calculation. At this moment, an old man's voice sounded in the hall. Just as everyone took out their tokens, Soul Fighter and the others quickly gathered in the hall. However, the expressions on their faces were very strange. They quickly scanned the hall, and when they confirmed that Chern Hao was not among the cultivators in the hall, Soul Fighter's face flashed with extreme excitement, and he couldn't wait to look up to the sky and laugh. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 447. Dead. That kid is dead. Soul Fighter clenched his fists tightly and resisted the urge to laugh. His excitement was indescribable. He did not know what had happened, but he knew that Chern Hao was definitely dead. Otherwise, how could he not appear in this hall when the ruins were about to close? That's great. That kid must have suffered an unrecoverable injury when he killed our people. That's why he died in the ruins. Yes, that should be the case. Now we don't have to worry. Junior brother Soul Fighter, this kid is dead. We can continue to deal with his group. Hee, there are quite a few beauties. Don't worry, we won't leave any behind. When we get out, we will start to collect information about them. However, we need to find an opportunity, and we need to be extremely discreet. While Soul Fighter and the rest were getting excited, Xiang Tian Shao took in the expressions on their faces. He had been paying attention to this matter and noticed that 4 people were missing from Soul Fighter's group. However, Chern Hao, who he was more optimistic about, did not come out. This made him feel a little sorry for Chern Hao. It's a pity that he could perish together with 4 peak late-stage Blessed Realm experts. 584 people entered, and 523 people returned. The mortality rate is about 10.4%. Congratulations, everyone, you can leave now. What a pity, what a pity! After the cultivators left the hall through the teleportation door one by one, the Alliance's management staff looked at the statistics and said regretfully, "Could it be that the disciples of Limitless Demon Palace did it?" At that time, more than 20 of them followed Chern Hao closely. When they arrived together, it was a little strange. Their behavior just now also seemed very strange. Moreover, since Chern Hao was able to be specially approved as an elite guardian by the Alliance headquarters, he definitely has combat power above the late-stage Blessed Realm. It's unlikely that he died in the ruins. What can we do even if we know about this? Chern Hao's life is really short. He died just after becoming an elite guardian. It's better to report this to the headquarters. Wait. Let's contact the person who recommended him first. Don't forget, there may be exceptions in any ruins. At this moment, an old man said, "What do you mean? Are you saying that this Chern Hao might be able to activate the hidden inheritance of the relic? Think about it. If those disciples of the Limitless Devil Palace killed Chern Hao, why were they so excited when they were in the hall? Obviously, they had also just discovered that Chern Hao had not come out. In other words, they might not even know that Chern Hao is dead, and there are only 21 of them left, although there hasn't been any special situation in the records of ruins. No. 93 for so many years, it can't be ruled out. So, it's better to contact the person who recommended him first. It's impossible that such a genius doesn't have the support of a big shot. He must have a longevity plate. All right. Chern Hao, who was immersed in cultivation, had no idea what was happening outside. However, it was clear that the worry in his heart would not come to pass. Regardless of whether the staff of the ruins reported it or not, it would not happen. This was because Immortal Venerable Han Mei and Immortal Venerable Yun Wei were already certain of his life and death. The staff of the ruins contacted Chern Hao's recommendation, Meng Yichong, through the Alliance's Internal Information Inquiry Authority. After Meng Yichong learned of this situation, he immediately went to see Immortal Venerable Han Mei and Immortal Venerable Yun Wei. In the end, the 3 of them arrived at ruins number 93 together. They confirmed that Chern Hao was still in the ruins, and he must have activated the restriction inheritance that had never appeared in ruins number 93. Immortal Venerable Han Mei, Immortal Venerable Yun Wei, and Meng Yichong were pleasantly surprised but also worried. After all, it wasn't that easy to obtain any restriction inheritance. Even if it was activated, it didn't mean that one could obtain it. There was also the possibility of dying in it. However, all they could do was to wait for the news. 512, 5 months. 763, 6 months. As Chern Hao comprehended more and more, he was able to float in the profound energy field more and more freely. For more than half of the 21 hours, he was able to easily control his own body without being affected by the profound energy field. Only when the formation diagrams that he hadn't comprehended started to operate would he fall into an uncontrollable pull. This also made Chen Hao's comprehension speed faster and faster. On the 28th day of the 7th month, before the profound energy field's duration was up, Chen Hao gently landed on the ground. No matter how the profound energy field changed, it didn't affect him at all. Break for me. Ha 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 ha. Chi chi chi. Following Chen Hao's excited and wild laughter, a mysterious aura suddenly rose from his body. One by one, the invisible profound energy formation diagrams spread out and quickly merged with the profound energy formation diagrams in the secret room. When Chen Hao successfully released 1,000 complete formation diagrams, rays of bright light shrouded his body. In the next moment, Chen Hao had already disappeared from the palace. Ha ha! I've mastered it, I've mastered it! Ha ha! An unbridled and wild laughter burst out from Chen Hao's mouth. 7 months, an entire 7 months, he didn't stop for a moment and didn't relax at all. Even when he didn't have the profound energy field, his mind was operating at high speed, comprehending the formation diagrams from the walls. At this moment, he finally stepped out of the profound energy space. How could he not be excited? What made him even more excited was that when the restriction of the profound energy field completely disappeared from his body, Chen Hao had a feeling of soaring into the sky. He could clearly feel that his aura was violently soaring, and a dense essence energy that was almost solid gushed out uncontrollably. It shot straight into the sky, as if it wanted to pierce through the firmament and connect to the starry sky. Nothing could stop it. Heaven's punishment. It actually automatically triggered Heaven's punishment? Could it be that I can trigger Heaven's punishment here? Isn't this the hall when I entered? Chen Hao, who was immersed in excitement and surprise, only now did he realize that he had directly arrived at the hall when he entered the ruins. This was a little out of his expectations. He originally thought that the ruins only opened once a year, and even if he had a special encounter, he would have to wait until the next time it opened before he could leave. But he had obviously underestimated the ability of the master of the ruins. Beep 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 beep. An urgent sound suddenly sounded in the Alliance's workshop. At this moment, the ruins had not opened yet and most of the staff members had already left. Only 3 elderly men were stationed here, and there was only one on duty. It appeared. The elderly man on duty was immersed in meditation with his legs crossed. When he heard the urgent sound, he suddenly woke up and looked in the direction of the long and narrow passageway in shock. What a strong fluctuation! How could it possibly charge out of the restriction? Could it be Heaven's punishment? After the elderly man sensed the sudden tremors between heaven and earth, his eyes widened in shock. Not good open for me. Chi. The elderly man didn't dare to hesitate any longer. He directly took out a strange token and violently poured energy into it. In an instant, at the end of the long and narrow passageway, a milky white light shone. The teleportation door opened. Chen Hao? Come out quickly! The elderly man's voice directly sounded in the hall. Hiss! As soon as he finished speaking, a stream of light rushed out of the teleportation door like lightning. At this moment, Chen Hao's entire person exuded a powerful and terrifying dense aura, giving people the feeling that he wanted to break through the air and leave. Moreover, his entire aura was connected to heaven and earth. You've triggered Heaven's punishment, you little brat. Quick, quick, get out of the palace first. The elderly man was shocked beyond words. At the same time, he was quite speechless at Chen Hao's urgency to pee. If you want to trigger Heaven's punishment, you have to get out of the palace no matter what. Can't you even wait for a few minutes? As he spoke, the elderly man waved his hand and sent out a stream of energy, wanting to envelop Chen Hao. He didn't want the terrifying thunder calamity to destroy the entire palace. Heaven's punishment was penetrative. No matter how strong the palace was, it would still bombard Chen Hao completely. This couldn't be explained by common sense. It had a destructive power to people and things other than the person who triggered heaven's punishment. However, what made the elderly man's eyes widen in shock was that he clearly felt that he had enveloped Chen Hao, but Chen Hao disappeared in an instant. He turned into a stream of light and rushed out of the palace. "Senior, don't worry. I can't control it, I can't suppress it. I didn't do it on purpose." He had already disappeared, but Chen Hao's voice floated beside the elderly man. "What happened? He's out?" At this moment, two elderly figures quickly came out from the other rooms of the palace. They also felt the violent tremors between heaven and earth. "He's out. This brat has already triggered heaven's punishment. Let's go and take a look, no way? Such a strong aura. I'm also very surprised," the elderly man on duty said with an expression of disbelief. As he spoke, he had already rushed out. Whoosh, 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 whoosh in the void, there was a violent fluctuation of heaven and earth energy in a radius of thousands of miles. In a moment, it condensed into tribulation clouds, surging and rolling. The energy whistled, and the originally bright sunlight disappeared in an instant. A pressure that shocked the three elderly men rolled down from the 9 heavens. Moreover, it was increasing at an alarming speed. The three elderly men were all experts in the initial stage of the human immortal realm, but at this moment, when they saw Chen Hao's aura before heaven's punishment arrived, they were extremely shocked. They had seen many geniuses trigger heaven's punishment. They were also rare geniuses in the past. In fact, how could they not be geniuses since they could ascend to the human immortal realm? How many people in the entire boundless land could become immortal primes? However, the pressure and range that Chen Hao's heaven's punishment had just displayed were beyond their imagination. How was this heaven's punishment triggered by a half-step to the creation realm? Although it was not as strong as the heaven's punishment that they triggered when they were half-step to the human immortal realm, the three of them were certain that Chen Hao's heaven's punishment was definitely dozens of times stronger than that of an ordinary half-step to the creation realm. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 448. Chen Hao, go further! Go further! The three old men cried out in shock at Chen Hao from afar. Still not enough? Hiss. At this moment, Chen Hao was already 1,000 miles away from the Alliance Palace, but even he had underestimated the power of the heavenly punishment. Hearing the old men's shouts, Chen Hao could only fly further away. Go further! Go further! After 2,000 miles, Chen Hao had just stopped when the three old men shouted again. F***CK, it's already 2,000 miles. Although my divine punishment's aura has covered a few thousand miles, it shouldn't be able to hurt the palace, right? Chen Hao muttered in his heart and flew away again. He could feel that the divine punishment's aura had reached its peak and could descend at any time. At this moment, he should be on guard, but under the panicked shouts of the three old men, he could only go further away. 4,000 miles. In one breath, Chen Hao ran for another 2,000 miles before stopping again. When he didn't hear the shouts of the three old men, he finally let out a long sigh of relief. He looked at the void proudly, and his essence, qi, and soul instantly became more condensed, shooting straight up into the sky. Rumble, the wind and clouds changed, and thunder rumbled. The divine punishment had yet to descend, but the terrifying energy fluctuations of heaven and earth produced a terrifying sound of rolling thunder. The dark tribulation clouds spanned thousands of miles and madly gathered in the void above Chen Hao. They became darker and denser in a few breaths of time. The color changed as Chen Hao had expected. Streaks of dazzling seven-colored light were born from the dark tribulation clouds, enveloping the surrounding thousands of miles under the dazzling seven-colored light. Creak, creak, creak. Crack, 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 the mountains and rivers within 3,000 miles all made strange sounds at this moment. The mountains trembled and the rivers rolled. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth contained in them could not withstand the terrifying suction of the tribulation clouds and surged into the void. Roar, bang, bang, bang. Within a radius of nearly 10,000 miles, the scattered monsters looked at the sky in horror at this moment. They let out terrified howls and fled into the distance. 7-colored tribulation clouds. It's actually a 7-colored tribulation cloud. From the start, the 3 old men were already shocked by Chun Hao's powerful heavenly punishment aura. But now they were even more shocked. It wasn't rare for the genius disciples of the boundless world to be able to trigger the rainbow tribulation cloud. Even some super geniuses who had accumulated a lot of experience could do it. However, those were the early stages of half-step golden core, half-step nascent soul, half-step incarnation, and so on. Half-step creation were extremely rare. After the human celestial stage, they were almost extinct. No wonder he's so strong. As long as he can survive this divine punishment within the same realm, his battle prowess will definitely be able to surpass the top prodigies of the elite academy. Crack! When the tribulation cloud had condensed to a size of several thousand feet, it began to spin at a terrifying speed like a millstone. The first heavenly punishment also erupted at this moment. The rainbow-colored lightning transformed into a pillar of light that reached the heavens, bringing with it a terrifying heavenly might as it descended from the heavens. Chi. Rumbled Chun Hao's tiny but tall and straight figure was instantly submerged in the pillar of light. A terrifying explosion sounded within a radius of several thousand feet. Mountains collapsed and everything was annihilated. Ah! At this moment, Chun Hao let out a loud roar. His physical body and soul were completely unleashed with Chun Hao's roar. He resisted the heavenly punishment head-on. Pain, endless pain, as if his physical body was about to collapse and his soul was about to be torn apart. It crazily attacked every nerve of Chun Hao's. Pain, endless pain, beyond any pain that Chun Hao had ever experienced. Almost instantly, under the magical heavenly punishment, countless thin blood vessels burst out of every pore on Chun Hao's body like a blood mist. His soul was shaking violently. In Chun Hao's perception, every cell in his physical body seemed to be ruptured, and his soul showed signs of shattering. Strong. So strong. Endure. Hold it in. Endure. Chun Hao, who had experienced the heavenly punishment 3 times, would never have imagined that the heavenly punishment this time would be so terrifying. In the previous 3 heavenly punishments, although he was many times stronger than ordinary cultivators, he could easily pass through them without any suspense. However, this time, it was just the beginning, and Chun Hao already felt as if his body and soul were about to be destroyed. The pain was so unbearable that even his mind was slightly dazed. Chun Hao did not know that this was because he had completed the fusion with the old god. What was the heavenly punishment? It was a punishment for practitioners who went against the heavens. How heaven-defying was the fusion between Chun Hao and the old god. He was only a half-step to the creation realm, but he could condense a middle-grade spiritual treasure set that surpassed a superior-grade spiritual treasure set. He could instantly kill an expert at the peak of the late-stage creation realm. How could the heavenly punishment not be strong? Of course, more importantly, the old god did not completely conceal his aura this time. F***ck. I don't believe that I can't withstand it. Crack, crack, crack. Chun Hao gritted his teeth and focused his mind to the extreme. He maintained his consciousness and risked his life to resist the heavenly punishment. Crazy, crazy. This kid actually chose to resist such a terrifying heavenly punishment. What guts! Many people only see the halo of a genius, but they don't know how much the genius has sacrificed. How many people would dare to do such a dangerous thing? At least I can't do it. If I'm not careful, my body and soul will be destroyed. Yes, unbelievable. How many lightning strikes do you think he can withstand? I don't know. But I know that no matter how many strikes, as long as he can successfully pass through them, it will be difficult for him to find an opponent in the creation realm. If he is given some time to grow to the late-stage creation realm, even we will have to think twice. Is it that exaggerated? We are in the ranks of celestial supremes. Any one of us can casually kill 100 people at the peak of the late-stage creation realm. Don't forget about the top monsters in the elite academy. Do you think that Chun Hao is inferior to them? The three old men were thousands of miles away. They stared at Chun Hao from afar and discussed in shock. The first lightning strike lasted for a short minute, but in Chun Hao's heart, it felt as long as 1,000,000,000 years. When the light pillar disappeared, he almost collapsed to the ground. But he knew that he could not relax. He could not collapse. Nothing could describe Chun Hao's madness, and no one could be as decisive as Chun Hao. In an instant, the vast and majestic outline of the great Tao resounded in Chun Hao's mind. Surging inner yuan spun wildly in his body, healing the wounds deep in his body and soul. At this moment, the essence, energy, and spirit that had withered like a flower slowly reappeared from the depths of Chun Hao's soul. It was weak, but it became more condensed and pure. It contained an unyielding will and a sharp edge. Like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon in the senses of the three old men, Chun Hao, who had been in a terrible state after just one lightning strike, seemed to have been reborn. An unyielding will was born from the inside out, accepting the universe in his heart, looking down on the heavens. The second strike, the third strike, the fourth strike, the fifth strike, the merciless heavenly punishment continued. The four old men's eyes widened more and more. Every time they thought that Chun Hao would not be able to withstand their attacks, Chun Hao seemed to undergo a metamorphosis that happened within a short 2 to 3 minutes. This was absolutely incredible. When the 9 levels of heavenly punishment ended, Chun Hao was surrounded by colorful light. When they confirmed that Chun Hao had withstood the heavenly punishment, the three old men were a little stunned. Their eyes almost fell to the ground. What kind of monstrous existence was this? Seniors, farewell? In an instant, under the nourishment of the mysterious energy after surviving the heavenly punishment, Chun Hao recovered to his peak state. He cupped his fists and said to the three old men who were still in a daze. Then, he tore open the void. Before the 3 celestial primes could say anything, he had slipped away. I haven't passed the message to him yet. This kid is too bold. He just entered the creation realm, and he dares to tear open the void. If he has the ability, why wouldn't he dare? I've learned something new this time. I didn't expect the heavenly punishment, a top monster, to be so powerful. Even I feel that I've benefited from watching him. Yes, the world of monstrous geniuses is not something we can imagine. Well, he's gone. Anyway, he's fine. We don't have to worry about him. We'll report his situation to the headquarters and inform Meng Yichong. Boom! The moment he tore open the void, streams of true yuan rose around Chun Hao's body. His powerful soul perception spread out. This is your first time tearing open the void to fly. Be careful. Remember to keep your mind locked on the void barrier. Otherwise, once you lose the lock, you'll be lost in the chaotic void and can't get out. That means death. Old God said in Chun Hao's mind. Don't be too nervous. Your physical body is strong. There's no need to waste so much true yuan to protect yourself. This way you can last longer. Yes, that's enough. Pay attention to the energy turbulence. Be careful. The star fragments that shuttled through the chaotic void like meteorites and the energy turbulence that suddenly erupted without any warning were the biggest obstacles to flying in the chaotic void. They were extremely dangerous. Haha. The flying speed here is obviously not very fast, but it has the effect of shrinking space. This should be the reason for the difference in the laws of space, right? Chun Hao's mind was firmly locked outside the chaotic void barrier. He said excitedly, "That's right. The boundless land, which is the space of the boundless star, is like the storage space of a cultivator compared to the chaotic void. Although it's not that exaggerated, if you move 10 feet here, you'll move 1,000 feet in the boundless star. It's equivalent to your flying speed increasing 100 times. However, with your current cultivation, you won't be able to last long." "That's true. The energy consumption is too fast." Hearing Old God's words, Chun Hao agreed. Just as they were talking, Chun Hao felt that 30% of his energy had been consumed. At most, he could hold on for 2 minutes. That was his limit. He had to have at least 30% of his true yuan left. Otherwise, if he didn't even have the power to break the barrier, he could only die in the chaotic void. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.